Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Chousen, Hakufu, Ryomou and Kanu, part 1. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Phantasm of Chaos. Link is in the description. Also subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let's start the story. The sun shone, as a teenage boy laid on top of a hill against a single tree. The boy was very tall for a 16-year-old, about 5 feet 7 inches. His body was hidden beneath an oversized cloak that covered his whole body, except for his head and feet, and a huge collar that opened up in the front. His face was covered by a black mask that clung to the lower half of his face and neck, while his shoulder-length, spiky blonde hair was shown. His left ear had a white earring, in the shape of a tomo, attached to it. His eyes remained closed. The boy was fast asleep on the hill, remembering things he wished to forget. The past that he wished to bury, but it still haunted him. Flashback. Chidori, a boy with unnatural black skin. His hair was long, and untamed hair, with a pair of huge hand-like wings on his back, and his eyes were black and gold due to his monastic transformation. His clothes were white cargo pants, and a blue shirt, bearing a fan-like crest. In his right hand what looked like a black ball of lighting. This very boy was Sasuke Uchiha, Rasengan, a boy, with spiky blonde hair, a torn-up orange jumpsuit, with a red energy aura around him in the form of a fox. His eyes were red with a black slit pupil. In his right hand was a ball of blue wind with a red shine coming off of it. This child name was Naruto Uzumaki. The two charged at another, eyeing each other to kill. When their attack collided, the energy started to surge, and with two powers started to explode, and the two boys were thrown back towards the wall of the Valley of the End. Both boys created a crater in the wall, were both knocked out, and their appearances receded, and they became normal. Suddenly a silvered-haired man appeared with a small dog. The man, Kakashi, ran up to where Naruto lay. He's fine, just a little tired. That should be expected nevertheless, Kakashi thought, as he made a cross-shaped hand sign, and called a Kagebushin, Japanese, shadow clone, and the clone walked over to where Sasuke was, tied up his arms and legs so he wouldn't escape, and began to travel toward the village. The original Kakashi picked Naruto up, and started toward the village himself, thinking, great job Naruto. Later, Naruto left the hospital with a clean bill of health in a couple days, but the doctors wished him to take it easy. As he walked out, Naruto had heard about the rest of the retrieval team in critical condition, but were doing well, and resting peacefully. He heard that Sasuke was being checked on in the Hokage, Japanese, fire shadow, tower to study his curse mark, and how to get rid of it. He wanted to check up, and see how Tsunade was doing. He got to the tower, and was about to walk in when he heard Tsunade shout, "You can't do that." Her voice was loud enough that Naruto heard it behind the door to her office. On the contrary, Tsunade-sama, we can, and we should. A voice that sounded like an elderly man. Tsunade-sama, you must see the reason. This mission is undeniable proof that the boy, Naruto Uzumaki, is not only a danger to himself, but to his fellow shinobi, Japanese, ninja. With the chakra of Kyubi no Kitsune, Japanese, nine-tailed fox, there is no telling that he could snap and destroy this very village, and, as a precaution, we must execute him before that happens. The second voice also belonged to an elderly woman. Naruto's eyes widened about what he just heard. They're going to execute me? Tsunade yelled once more at the two elders. Hamaru, Koharu, you are overstepping your bounds. Naruto had done nothing wrong, and this event was a strict accident. With proper training, Tsunade was interrupted by Hamaru. And what if that training isn't enough? What if the seal breaks, and the demon escapes from Naruto? Hamaru shouted to be sure that he got Tsunade's attention. Koharu adds in her own thoughts, this is the only way. With the Akatsuki threats looming over us, banishment is out of the question. If we execute him, this will not only exterminate the fox, but the Akatsuki will no longer be an issue. Tsunade's voice yelled again. And at what cost? Hamaru then said, I'm sorry Tsunade, but the decision is final. The two began to walk toward the door. Koharu then said, we will send 4 Umbu Black Ops to secure him, and haul him off to prison until the date of his execution. The two walked out of the door, and saw Naruto. Then Tsunade walked out hoping to catch up with her advisors, only to meet the same sight as her. Naruto's head looked down at the floor, as he said, so after everything I've done, this is my reward, huh? Koharu spoke, believe us Uzumaki-san, this was our last resort. Your last resort, huh? I bet it was your only resort. Naruto rudely interrupted. Hamaru then spoke, regardless, you will cooperate with us or... A burst of smoke covered the hallway after a poof was heard. Everyone in the hall was coughing, and trying to find their way around while Naruto made a break for it, and ran out the tower. He didn't stop, he kept running past the gates of Konoha, into the woods heading west, for God knows how long. Naruto didn't let the muddy ground stop him, his weakened legs, or the thoughts he was being followed. He just ran, unknowingly allowing the tear of his sadness, his loneliness, the thoughts of his betrayal fall Finally, after several hours, he fell. His face splashed against the ground. He tried to get up, but all he could do was lean up against a tree and rest, hoping the forest would provide shelter till he could move again. Naruto thought of the betrayal and felt nothing but anger. He knew why they did it and thought it's because of the fox. They think I'm a fox. They think it would do me some good if I just die, and that solves all their problems. Naruto thought weakly, as his spirit was finally broken. Naruto's eye wandered to a sign that said Land of Wave, 30 miles ahead. Naruto remembered Wave Country as his first mission. He also remembered Haku, the one person who taught him the meaning of true strength. Naruto's mind then wondered what Gaara, Shinobi of the Sand, once said, without a purpose you might as well be dead. Naruto realized he had no purpose, so what was the use of going on? Wasn't it better for him just to die and end his misery? Naruto didn't need a second thought, as he got up and quickly ran toward the direction of the Land of Waves. When he finally reached where he wanted to be, he decided to visit the graves of the two shinobi he met and learn from one last time before his time came. When he got to their grave site, he saw their courtyard was uncared for, but the grave marker still remained. He made a quick prayer and was off to the edge of the deepest cliff where his grave would be. He found the perfect cliff that dropped straight down to the sea. The perfect spot where nobody would find his body. His grave that would forever hide him. Before he could take a step further, a voice rang out, "Naruto, stop!" The voice yelled. Naruto knew who the voice belonged to, and turned himself around to see Kakashi no less than 5 yards away from him. "Well, Kakashi-sensei, I didn't know I would have a funeral guest." Naruto spoke to his teacher with sarcasm in his voice. "Naruto, I'm here to bring you." Kakashi spoke only to get interrupted by Naruto. "Home? The same home that has been trying to kill me for the past 13 years, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto spoke harsher this time. Kakashi tried to step towards Naruto, but Naruto only took a step back closer to the edge of the cliff. Kakashi spoke to Naruto. Tsunade tried to reason with the elder, and Kakashi was interrupted again. "Can't do shit. The elder are going to kill me, and that's that." "You want to know why, Kakashi?" Naruto spoke with anger present in his voice, and his eyes swelling up with tears. "Because I'm Kyuubi no Kitsune. That is who I am," Naruto shouted. Kakashi tried to calm him. "No, you're not, Naruto. There's a world of difference between you and that fox." Naruto let out a cold laugh and said, "Yeah, you're right. One is a great big ball of fur and is over 5,000 feet tall. The other is a bald shrimp that can't do a single thing right no matter what." Naruto took another step back and was at the very edge of the cliff. Kakashi took a careful step and said, "Naruto." Naruto smiled sadly. "Didn't I tell you? Kyuubi no Kitsune." With that, Naruto threw a kunai knife with a smoke bomb in front of Kakashi and took another step back, falling over the ledge. The bomb blew up in Kakashi's face before he could try and stop Naruto. Naruto, on the other hand, was falling from the cliff, out of reach to be saved now. Naruto then thought, so this is how it ends. Ha, to think I came all this way for nothing. But it's better this way. Another voice rang in Naruto's head, and oh, it cannot end like this, kid. It is going to end, Kyuubi, and I'm taking you with me. Naruto spoke to the fox one last time. Kyuubi growled at his container's foolishness. "Fool, you think that this will stop the hate, the suffering, the—" Kyuubi was interrupted by Naruto. "Just shut it. I don't care what you think, because it all adds up to one thing. You just don't want to die before you find a way out." Naruto confessed the fox's plan. "Regardless, you are not getting your way," Kyuubi roared, and he pushed his chakra through his container's body. Naruto felt the presence of the chakra, and knew that the fox was trying to save him, but he wouldn't allow it, and tried to reject the demon chakra with his own. Kyuubi felt his energy being flown back, and tried to send it back. "You fool, what are you doing? What does it look like stopping you?" Naruto snapped at the beast. Kyuubi growled, as he forced his energy to override the opposing energy, but the energy was matched in both strength and their user's will. "Stop, you fool, if you continue resisting me you'll die," Kyuubi yelled. Naruto let out a weak laugh, and said, "So be it." His vision became black instantly. He felt nothing. "So this is death, huh? Funny, I expected a white light," Naruto thought. "Child, your time has not yet come." A new voice rang through Naruto's head, and the flash of light blinded Naruto. End flashback. The boy on the hill opened his blue eyes after that dream. The figure groaned, and thought that dream again. The boy groaned. The boy's eyes wandered to a school built on top of a small flat hill. The school was Sido Private School, and made over a year ago his home. The boy then saw a girl walking along the patio of the school. She looked to be 16 or 17 years old, with glasses, her brown hair tied in 2 rat tails. She was holding in her 2 hands a huge stack of books. The girl, Ryubi Gentaku, the leader of Sido, traveled to where the boy laid on top of the hill. She let go of her book with one hand, and waved, as she yelled, "Good morning, Naruto." Ryubi yelled, then gasped, as her book fell out of her possession. She tried to catch the books, as they fell, but failed pathetically. She whimpered at her loss, and the boy, Naruto Uzumaki, couldn't help but chuckle a little. He ran down the hill, and helped her up, and picked up her books for her. Thank you, Naruto-san. Ryubi spoke to her fellow student and trusted friend. You want to read some of these with me? The library just got some new books, she asked. Naruto waved his hand and said no, not this time. I have to train right now. With that he turned around and left. Naruto reached the ground where he trained. It was just a clear field. Naruto began with throwing a few punches and kicks at random times. In Naruto's mind he was thinking of a fighter that uses a tiger-style movement and training himself to avoid the make-believe punches and kicks. Suddenly Naruto felt a presence from behind him and whirled around and guarded himself from an incoming punch from none other than Kanu Unchao, a 17-year-old girl with very long raven black hair, a nice tan skin, and a female sailor's suit, the school-required uniform. Kanu grinned and said, I see your reflexes aren't dulling, Naruto. Both pushed against each other, and Naruto landed away from her to see none other than Shuhei Kitoku, a brown-haired girl with a bossy attitude and a thing for sweet, and an even bigger thing for killing people who steal them, Choun Shiryu, a silver-haired woman, holding a sword in her left hand with her eye closed constantly, and was very laid back most of the time, and the youngest member in the entire school, Shokatsuryu Kome, a small girl making her appear 11 or 13-year-old with jade hair, out a few yards away from them. Naruto waved at all of them, and said, how are you guys doing? Naruto said plainly. Shuhei answered, we are all going out to dinner right now, and you're coming too, she told Naruto. Naruto was about to say no, but Kome interrupted. Don't say no, Naruto. We're only doing this because it's your birthday after all. Playing their triumph card that everyone discussed, knowing how guilty it would make him feel. It worked, and Naruto was beginning to feel a second doubt about his decision. He began to mutter, I don't know. Kome then ran in front of Naruto, put on her puppy dog face, and said, please Naruto, we worked so hard on planning this day. It would make us all sad if you said no. Kome spoke sweeter than normal. Naruto began to sweat, the one thing he can't resist no matter how much he resisted the plan. Alright, I'll go. Kome and Shuhei yelled together, yeah. Kanu and Choun just let out a smile, and Kanu said, we'll meet at the ramen restaurant that you love so much by 6 o'clock sharp. Okay. Naruto groaned, but complied nevertheless. Naruto saw up above him the sky growing dark and thick with clouds. It's going to rain soon, Naruto thought, as he walked off to his room and prepared to travel to the downtown area. Naruto enters his room. The room was a simple room. It didn't hold anything but a futon and a closet with several sets of clothes. The only abnormality was a pair of swords that hung on the wall. One of the two swords was long and had a small saw-like edge. The second one was just as long, with the blade divided into small segments, making it more of a bladed whip. Naruto remembers the sword appearing with him when he arrived in this world or wherever he was. Flashback. Naruto stood in a white space. He didn't know how he got here. He at first heard a voice and appeared in this area not knowing what was in store for him. Suddenly the white space began to color itself with moving pictures of men slaughtering each other, giving the impression that this was a major war. Terrible, what war and grudges can take on humanity. A voice behind Naruto spoke, and Naruto turned around to see a white serpent-like dragon with a golden ring attached to the back of his head. Naruto was a little frightened by the creature's appearance, but still found his voice to say, who are you? The dragon spoke again, an ancient soul from the dark war of the three kingdoms, one who moved on with his life, only to watch as the rest continue their war throughout the years, resurrecting themselves through children of innocent age. Naruto noticed quite plainly the suddenness in the dragon's tone, but he asked, what war? What are you talking about? The dragon nodded and continued, the war I'm talking about was a war that doesn't exist in your world, but in another world the way war is scarce, and the energy you call chakra is non-existent. The war which you saw was a war between three kingdoms in the Kanto region. Many of the warriors from the three kingdoms were brave, powerful, or cunning. They lead many battles that they have repeated over and over again. They performed a spell to allow their souls to live on and continue their war throughout the generation. A curse to the world that should have never existed. Naruto was making out okay, deciphering what the dragon was telling him, but something was bugging him, and decided to speak out. I get what you're saying somewhat, but what does this have to do with me? The dragon looked at Naruto, and said, the bottom line is I want to break this endless war once and for all. For that I need to enter the realm of living with a host. The problem is that no host is open for me to occupy. I looked for someone that I could work with. That when I found you, a spirit that was full of so much good, that heart knew pain, but never sought to inflict it on others. When you were about to die, I decided to contact you, with high hopes that you will allow me to share your body with me to end this constant struggle. The dragon spoke, with eagerness noticeable in his voice. Naruto noticed, of course, but was still a little reluctant. I don't know, sir. I don't, Naruto said. Are you afraid to trust again after what happened? The dragon spoke, gaining Naruto's attention. You are afraid of betrayal happening in your life again. Naruto only stared gawking at the dragon, but he knew that he hit the nail on the head. Yes, Naruto said gloomily. The dragon sighed, and said, child, what happened, happened. You can't undo the past, nor can you dwell in it expecting it will get better. Naruto looked down in shame, and knew that the dragon knew what he was talking about. He thought now that he held nothing for Konoha anymore, he could try to do something else. He then said, I'll go to this world, and see what's up, okay? The dragon understood, and nodded. I'll be with you until you reach your decision. The dragon disappeared, and the white space turned dark. Later, Naruto's vision returned to him, and he looked around to see the scenery change from where he was. He was now on a hill that overlooked a one-story building that looked like a huge Japanese-style home. He tried to get up, only to fall over, and roll down the hill, and land near the patio of the school. Naruto groaned, as he tried to get up again, but this time leaning on the ledge of the patio, and looked up. He saw a girl a year or two older than him, wearing a white and blue sailor suit with a blue shirt. She had brown hair and glasses. The girl crouched down, and said, Are you okay? Naruto tried to stand up straight, but fell over, and said, I'm sore as hell, and my whole body is numb. The girl nodded, and stood straight up. Don't go anywhere, I'll go, and get help, she said with a cheery tone, and ran off down that patio. Naruto groaned at the loss of some help, and tried to get up once more, only to fall down again. Well, I guess I can wait here, Naruto thought. You shouldn't worry about Naruto, you can trust her. A voice in Naruto's head boomed. Naruto grasped his head, and said, Who is there? The voice said, Speak in your mind, Naruto, and this is Hiryu speaking. Naruto took the voice's advice, closed his eyes, and thought, Hiryu? Hiryu then said, the dragon that you were talking to a little while ago. Naruto absorbed that piece of info by opening his eyes widely, and thought, where the hell am I? Hiryu then said, You're in the Kanto region where the war I was talking about is taking place, or to be more precise, Sido Private School. Sido Private School? Naruto asked. The dragon then said, Yes, there are 7 schools in the Kanto region that are waging war with one another to assume control. The spirits of the 3 kingdoms reside in the children in this region by possessing a jewel called a magatama, Japanese, sacred beads. The schools I'm talking about are, as followed, Nanyu Academy, Yusha High School, Rakuyu High School, Kyosho Academy, Gogen High School, Yusha Private School, and Sido Private School. There are so many people going to war? Naruto yelled. Yes, which is why I want you to train yourself to prepare for the major war with Kyosho Academy. The dragon spoke. Wait, why just Kyosho? I thought you said that all the schools were at war? Naruto said with clear confusion in his voice. They are. But the true leader of Kyosho plans to use its shadow's power, as well as the power of its brothers to destroy the world. The dragon spoke. Naruto is getting more and more confused. Wait, what power? What are you talking about? The fighters around the Kanto region are strong, but there are 3 people who possess a spirit that resides in them that gives them strength beyond their body and soul. This is the power that the ruler of Kyosho wants for herself. The dragon spoke. Naruto then asked, Who are these 3 people? I'm afraid you must learn that on your own, but if you agree with my request. Hiryu spoke once more, reminding Naruto of their agreement. Naruto thought for a moment, Are you sure I'm the right person? Naruto's voice was shaky. Are you sure I can trust you? Hiryu sighs and says, That is for you to decide. Naruto thought once more, and then said, I'll do it. Hiryu looked into Naruto's eyes, and saw not a moment of hesitation. A white earring appeared on Naruto's ear, which Naruto noticed, and was about to ask what it was when he heard, I'll be in contact with you through this. Naruto then opened his eyes to see he was in a different room. The girl he met before was in here with him, and another girl, with long black hair that covered most of her face, wearing the same uniform the other girl had, and she was slightly taller than them. Ryubi Gentaku. We can't keep him here. We don't know where he came from, or more importantly what his intentions are. The taller woman spoke to the other girl, known as Ryubi Gentaku. Ryubi then said, But Kan-san, we can't just leave him to die. Ryubi spoke to the woman, Kan, as she was called. Besides, he seems nice enough. I'm sure he can't cause too much trouble. Ryubi spoke, trying to get her overprotective friend to give the boy a chance. Kan palmed her head with her hand, and said fine. Kan got up, and walked over to Naruto, and kneeled down in front of him. Now Kan spoke to Naruto. I'm going to ask you some questions, and depending on the answer, your fate will be decided. Understood? Kanyu spoke with a threat lingering in her voice. Naruto merely nodded, and allowed her to continue. Kanyu then said, Okay, first, who are you? Naruto answered quickly, Naruto Uzumaki. Kanyu then asked, What school are you from? She added more of a glare to that question. Naruto chuckled lightly, and said, None, and if you're going to ask where I'm from, save your breath. I can't tell you cause you won't believe me. Kanyu raised her eyes at this, and said, What do you mean? Naruto just said, Trust me, you won't believe me, so just drop it. Naruto adds his own glare to try, and get his own point of thought, only for Kanu to grab the collar of his orange jacket and slam him against the wall. Kanu let out a low growl and said, "Do not test me." Naruto just shook her hands off and said, "I'm not from around here, and we'll leave it at that." Kanu just looked in his eye and knew from that look she wasn't going to get an answer. "Fine. Next, what are your intentions?" Naruto then answered, "Just to find a good spot to train." Kanu looked confused and asked why. Naruto just said, "Let's say there is someone who is going to cause a lot of problems in the near future, and I have gotten stronger." No more questions from there. Okay. Kanu just stared into his eyes and saw there was no moving him on this, and decided to end the interrogation. Kanu got up and said, "Okay, I won't kill you, but you can't stay here." Naruto understood and got up to leave. Then a voice rang through the room, but Kansan Ryubi said, "You can't just throw him out." He could. Naruto turned towards Ryubi and said, "It's okay. I know when I'm not welcome." He walked out of the door and left the room before another complaint was heard. Naruto left the area through a gate and continued walking down the stairs. Naruto then heard something strange in the bushes on the sides of the stairs, and curiosity struck him. Naruto walked through the forest to see 3 guys crouching in front of each other. One of them then said, "So we all know the plan?" He looked like a 17-year-old wearing a red jacket. His face was mildly tanned, with narrow green eyes, and a dragon tattoo on the left side of his face. He also had a black backpack with him. The other 2 hid their identity with a blue and green hooded jacket. The leader of the trio spoke again. "Okay, let's review. You 2 referred to his men to cause distractions to get Kanu Unchao's attention, while I grabbed Ryubi Gentaku and smuggled her to Totaku at Rakuya High School. If this works, we'll be rewarded greatly," the leader added with a leech's smile on his face. Naruto scowled and decided to crash in on their party. He quickly made a cross-hand sign and said Kagebushin no Jutsu, and 2 replicas of himself appeared, and they all spread out to different areas. Naruto quickly jumped down on the side of where the gang was, getting their attention. "Who the hell are you?" one of the 2 men yelled. His question wasn't answered, as Naruto kicked him in the gut and hit the tree with force. The other 2 prepared for a fight by digging through their pockets and bringing out a pair of pocket knives. Naruto charged at his enemies and dodged those knives and attempted to punch each of them. They both dodged, and the grunt made another attempt that was successful and hit Naruto deep in the ribs. Naruto backed off quickly and covered his wound. The leader then said, "Hey asshole, I'm going to ask a simple question, and depending on your answer, I may let you leave with a broken arm. So who is about to take your head off?" A voice from behind the 2 thugs spoke, and the 2 turned their back to see 2 clones popping out and kicking in the head, knocking them out. Naruto saw the damage done and decided to make sure they didn't do anything else. He searched through the leader and found a bit of rope. He tied them all up in the tree upside down and prepared to leave, only for the wound to start to catch up to him, and he fainted. Later, Naruto woke up in a room that only held a futon. Naruto got up from the bed and saw both Kanu and Ryubi beside him. "Hi," Naruto said to both of them. "You shouldn't move, Naruto. Your wound was deep, and I was surprised you could take on 3 fighters at once, even if they were from Yasha High." Kanu complimented Naruto. Naruto then said it was nothing, and tried to get up again, only for his wound to ACH, and him to reconcile in the pain. Ryubi then crawled over to him, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Lay down, Naruto-san." Kanu then added, "Yeah, you don't need to leave." Naruto looked at Kanu confused. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Kanu, I thought you wanted me out of here." "Well, considering you stopped an attempted attack on our school, I'm willing to give you a chance." Kanu spoke to Naruto, but then added, "But on 3 conditions. First, you are to help pull your weight around here, and that means doing about anything either Ryubi or me ask." "Okay," Kanu asked. Naruto nodded his head. "Second, if you do anything that gives me a reason to kill you, trust me, I shall." Kanu put more anger in this one to make her point clear. Naruto backed away slightly and muttered, "Yes, madam." Kanu then said finally, "Get some new clothes and a couple of sheaths for your swords." Naruto looked confused. "What?" Kanu then said, "Your swords are lying right next to you." Naruto looked below him to see 2 swords laying on the floor. Naruto then thought, where did those come from? A voice in his head rang. "Those would be my gift to you, Hirya," Naruto asked. "Yes, Naruto, it is me. Those swords were mine, but now they belong to you." Hiryu spoke to Naruto. "Why?" Naruto asked. Hiryu explained, "The war is approaching fast, and you'll need all the help you can get, including weapons, and a fighting style I will personally teach you. The swords will help, as well." Naruto then smiled, and said, "Thank you, Hiryu-sensei." Hiryu smiled, as well, and said, "You're welcome, Naruto." With that, Naruto left his head, and quickly spoke to Kanu. "I thank you, and I will do whatever you ask, Ryubi-san, Kan-san." Kanu then spoke to Naruto. "Kanu Unchao, and you were welcome." Ryubi cheered in happiness. Flashback end. That was the start to everything Naruto said out loud in his room. The new beginning for me. Naruto went to his desk, got his wallet, and his cell phone, and headed out. Naruto stood in the middle of his training area with his sword in his hand. He then raised the sword and swung it down. The sword began to extend and split a tree in half, 15 yards away. Naruto began to twist his arm and body to curve and motion the sword whip he called Tenryamaru, Japanese, divine snake. The whip began to tear into the land, leaving long, thin lines, and then Naruto coiled up Tenryamaru and quickly pulled out his other sword, Fujifu, Japanese, retribution warrior. He quickly made a few sharp thrusts in the middle of the field. He stopped his exercises to see Chousen arriving in the same field. She sensed all the damage done to the area and said, "You're getting better at handling your weapons, Naruto-san." Chousen spoke to her friend. Naruto then said thanks. Chousen then gripped the hilt of her own sword and said, "But the best kind of training is actual fighting." She pulled her sword out and finished. "What do you say?" Naruto grinned under his mask and said, "Bring it." And with that, Chousen charged with Naruto's blade clashing with her own. Naruto then said, "Let us see if I can scratch you this time." Naruto and Chousen kicked off one another, and then, as soon as they landed, they kicked off the ground, and their swords met again. Only this time Naruto slammed his sword down and used an extra amount of force to make Chousen's sword fall downward to the ground, and Naruto swung his foot to kick Shiryu's side, but Chousen blocked with her hand, and Naruto quickly tried to punch her with his left hand. Chousen quickly twisted her sword to keep the opposing sword blocked and intercepted Naruto's fist. Both fighters broke apart from one another. They landed apart from one another. Naruto then pulled out Tenryamaru and whipped it. The blade extended and struck Shiryu's spot. Chousen then dodged the wild blade, then ran close to Naruto, and then made a slash at Naruto. The strike landed a light cut on Naruto's chest. Naruto tried to recover by recoiling his sword, jumping back a few feet, and then wiping it at Chousen's sword. Tenryamaru then wrapped itself around the Chousen's sword. Naruto then pulled back, and Chousen was pulled off the ground and headed straight for her opponent. Chousen quickly recovered by bringing her foot and kicking Naruto straight in the face, knocking him off balance and falling to the ground. Naruto tried to get back up. Only Chousen's foot pressed on his chest and her sword at his neck. Chousen then said, "Do you yield?" Naruto growled and yelled, "Hell no!" Naruto then whipped his sword, and the sword lashed out at Chousen, only for Chousen to grab the whip with little effort with her free hand, while pointing her sword to his throat. Chousen then mutters, a B-rank fighter at worst, but a low A rank at best. Chousen then took her sword away from Naruto's throat. "You're getting better at Naruto, but try to move Tenryamaru a bit slower to control its movements better." Naruto got up from the ground. As he said thanks for the tip, Chousen grinned a little then left the field. Before she was out of sight, Naruto shouted, "Hey Chousen." Chousen turned toward him in response. "I'm going out for a while. I'll be back before dinner." With that, Naruto headed out to town. Chousen nodded and proceeded to tell her friends about Naruto's whereabouts. Naruto arrived in town in about 10 minutes. He proceeded to venture through the maze of concrete and steel. Naruto saw 3 or 4 fighters running towards the river. He decided to investigate to see what was up, since the guys in the group were all from Yasha private school, and that could mean trouble. Naruto arrived at a location where everyone was at, only to see more standing in a junkyard. Naruto then saw a bunch of the Yushu students. In the middle of the mob, he saw a boy with short black hair, wearing a plain white t-shirt, black shorts, a white magatama, and looked to be 16 years old. The boy held his fist up to the gang, preparing to fight back. The boy then attempted to fight off the other students, but he was ganged up and pinned down. One of the guys, who had light tan skin, an orange jacket, black pants, a goatee, a bucket hat, and a violet-colored magatama. Naruto instantly recognized him as Kanu of Yushu Private School. Naruto growled at the Yushu student. Yushu Private School was a place filled with underhanded fighters who preferred to play dirty and only took orders from the one person who held the most power. Basically, they were nothing more but a bunch of rats. Naruto then heard a cell phone ring and saw it was the boy who was taken down. Kanu then reached, took the phone, and answered it, and heard, "Hey Kukin, where are you?" A girl's voice spoke on the phone. Kanu then asked, "Is this Hakufu Sansaka?" The girl on the other line then yelled, "Hey Kukin, is this a joke?" Kanu then said, "I'm not Kukin Shiryu. I'm Kanu," and was interrupted when the girl yelled, "Idiot. You're not fooling me with that stupid voice. Kukin, where the hell are you?" Kanu then took the phone away from her ears, as the girl, Hakufu Sansaku, continued ranting, "Hello. Hey Kukin, answer me." Kanu then groaned, and said she was not listening to me. He then walked over to the boy, Kukin, and put the phone next to his ear. "Here, you talk to her." Kukin immediately heard his cousin's voice. "Hello Kukin? Are you getting bad reception?" Kukin then spoke Hakufu. Hakufu then said finally, "Kukin, where are you? Listen, stay at home, don't leave the house." Kukin spoke to Hakufu. Suddenly a student kicked Kukin in the face, as he yelled, "Who the hell told you to say that?" Kanu put Kukin's phone to his ear, and said, "Don't you get it now? I'm not Kukin Shiryu." Hakufu then spoke through the phone, "What have you done to Kukin?" Hanu then said, why don't you come and find out? Hakufu then yelled, where are you? Hanu grinned and said, by the river, you'll see a little junkyard. That is where I'm at. He then hung up and threw the phone away. Hanu then turned to his gang and yelled, okay guy. She took the bait, and now all we need to do is wait for the famous booby bombs to show up. The other guys cheered. Kukin heard all of this, and with a surprising show of strength threw everyone off of his back. He then got up and started to punch the other fighters left and right. I have to beat them all before Hakufu gets here, Kukin thought, as he continued his own assault. Hanu saw his men get beat effortlessly, and shouted, hey come on guy, why is this taking so long? Out of the corner of his eye Hanu spotted a crowbar on the ground. Hanu picked it up and ran at Kukin, preparing to strike. Naruto quickly jumped toward Hanu and landed next to him. He quickly grabbed a crowbar and side punched Hanu in the gut. Hanu was pushed back. He quickly got back up and eyed the unknown fighter. Who the hell are you? Naruto just stood there and said, none of you business rats. Hanu growled and yelled, why you ba? Hanu. A voice called out from atop of a trashed car. Everyone eyed a well-built figure standing, wearing a white roughed-up shirt, black pants, a pair of sunglasses. He wore a bandana. His magatama was colored gold. His skin was tanned, and his hair was braided into 2 rat tails hung in front of him. Hanu looked frightened by the man's presence and said, Taishijai. The man, Taishijai, then said, what do you think you're doing here? Hanu then answered, well, I don't think I need your help. Considering it's one chick. Hanu was interrupted when Taishijai said, just because she is a chick. Shit, Hanu thought. You were hoping to lure her here so you can have your way with her. Taishijai explained Hana's plan with a calm voice, but his words made it sound like he was angry and irritated. Hanu backed away as Taishijai stepped down from the trashed car and spoke, yeah. So what's the difference? Taishijai stepped towards Hanu and said, you are not a fighter. He pushed Hanu roughly aside, making Hanu slam into the pile of trash. Taishijai pushed himself through the crowd and stopped a few feet away from Kukin and said, sorry. One of our members pulled a stupid stunt. I'll have them withdraw immediately. The other fighters looked at Taishijai shocked and muttered to themselves, but backed off nevertheless. Taishijai continued, my only business is with the girl, the show Haku, Hakufu Sansaku. That was the order given to me by Totaku. Kukin stiffened up about this. So it's true. Totaku is after Hakufu. Taishijai then said, you're free to go. Naruto stood on the sideline, unnoticed by Taishijai or the others. Naruto quietly watched Taishijai himself apologize for the incident and ordered Kukin to back off himself. Kukin then slid into a battle position and said, I won't let you touch Hakufu. He spoke to Taishijai. Taishijai was shocked by this challenge and said, don't you even know who I am? Taishijai Shigi. Kukin answered, I heard you are one of the top 5 fighters in Kanto, and even knowing that, you still tried to challenge me? Taishijai asked Kukin, what makes you think you can beat me? Taishijai asked. Kukin was about to speak, but another voice intervened, because his eyes are full of strength. Everyone looked over to where Naruto stood. What do you mean? Taishijai asked the cloaked fighter. What I mean, Taishijai, is that the boy knows he'll die if he fights you, but all he can hope for at the most is killing you, before How shows up. Naruto spoke to the students of Yosha Private School. Taishijai glanced at Naruto then at Kukin, and said, is this true? Kukin looked Taishijai in the eye, and said, yes. Even if we end up killing each other, I won't let you fight Hakufu. Don't underestimate me. Taishijai cautioned the boy, and continued, why don't you say that after you landed a punch on me? How about a deal? If you can hit me just once, I'll call off the fight with Sansaku. Hanu was shocked that Taishijai began to protest, but Taishijai ignored him. Is that a promise? Kukin asked, trying to be sure it wasn't a trap. Taishijai then said, I give my word. Kukin stood where he was at with his legs crouched a little, and his fist held high, preparing to strike. Taishijai just kept his hands in his pockets, and just waited for Kukin to make the first move. Both fighters just eyed each other down, preparing to move when the other did. Naruto saw otherwise Taishijai won't make a move until Kukin does, and Kukin won't move until Taishijai's attention is diverted. I can't tell what would happen. Kukin has some power to him, but pales in comparison with Taishijai. It's only the resolve that might give Kukin the edge, Naruto thought. Suddenly a voice was heard, as it shouted Kukin. Everyone turned to see an orange-haired girl, with a large chest, a white t-shirt, black shorts, and a green magatama, riding a bike that flew through the air and crashed in the junk. Kukin saw Taishijai twitch his head, and thought now, and charged at Tashiji with one fist forward. Taishijai, in response, took out his left hand from his pocket, and formed it into a fist. When Kukin was a foot away from Taishijai, he stopped suddenly. Kukin's fist barely made contact with Taishijai's right eye, where Taishijai's fist was a couple inches farther from Kukin's gut. Kukin felt a force hit him, began to fall to his left, and hit the ground. Taishijai on the other hand was still standing, unharmed, but his sunglasses lens shattered. Naruto saw Kukin's performance, and was clearly impressed. He landed a hit on a clearly powerful opponent, an A-rank fighter clearly. Hakufu climbed out of the rubble to see her cousin fall, and cried Cookin. She ran down from the pile of junk, and kneeled down. Cookin, are you alright? Taishijai took off his glasses, and threw them to the side, as he said, get him an ambulance, we're done here. He started to walk off. Cookin on the other hand started to cough up a bit of blood. Cookin, Hakufu shouted in horror. As Taishijai walked off, Hanu approached Taishijai, and said to Taishiji, where are you going? We just can't leave. I gave him my word. Even if it was just my glasses, the boy still hit me. I'm not going to break my promise, even under intense circumstances. Taishijai explained his action to Hanu, as he walked on. Naruto stared at Taishijai. Amazing, not only is his strength impressive, but his honor that he puts behind it. That is something you don't see these days in other fighters. Hold it. Everyone's attention turned to the busted girl right next to Cookin. You were the one who hurt Cookin. Hakufu got up, ran at Tashiji, and stopped a few feet, and raised her fist. Taishijai turned to Hakufu. Stand down. That boy just risked his life to save you. Would you rather let all that go in vain? Taishijai spoke to Hakufu. Cookin thought no. I wasn't just trying to protect Hakufu. I didn't want it to come out again. Cookin's mind drifted to when he saw Hakufu get into a fight before, and became a complete berserker. Hakufu on the other hand ignored the warning, and charged at Tashiji, as she shouted, you bastard. She kicked Taishijai in the neck, but Taishijai made no effort to move, and took the blow. He didn't even flinch, he didn't even tilt his head. He acted like nothing happened. Taishijai then curled hand into a fist again, and punched Hakufu in her stomach. Hakufu was sent flying into a pile of scrap metal. She slammed into the pile, and fell down to her knees. There, you can't move now. Taishijai spoke to Hakufu, and turned away. Wait a minute. Hakufu tried to get, as she got up, but her body was in an intense amount of pain. Don't try to move. You can't beat me. No matter how much you want to beat me, you're still too weak. That boy over there glanced at Cookin is stronger than you, and I'm 100 times stronger than him. That's reality. Naruto looked at Hakufu, and thought he's right. Her timing is way off, and she fights like an amateur. There is no way that this girl could be a challenge for Taishijai. Hakufu ignored Taishijai, and said I don't care. She then stood straight up, shocking everyone there, including Naruto and Taishijai. How could she even stand after a single punch? I've only used 40% of my full strength in that punch, but that's enough to cripple a normal fighter for an hour, Taishijai thought, puzzled by his opponent's condition. Well, she stood straight up after taking a blow like that. This girl is no ordinary fighter, Naruto thought, observing the female fighter. Hakufu gripped her stomach, as she said, the motto of my family is return what you borrow. Understood. Ready her fist for another attack. Taishijai then faced Hakufu, and looked into her eyes. He saw that Hakufu wasn't going to take no for an answer or back down, so with little option he said go ahead. Hakufu grinned a little, and began to charge at Taishijai. Taishijai only punched Hakufu once again, and sent her flying. Hakufu landed roughly on the ground, and tried to get up. Hanu then ran up to Taishijai. Taishijai, you know we can't just let her live. If Totaku finds out we failed to follow his orders, he'll massacre Yushu. Taishijai turned to Hanu. I won't repeat myself, Hanu, regardless of what you or Ryu want. Hanu growled, and yelled fine. If you won't do what you're ordered, I will. Hanu then ran fast towards the fallen Hakufu, and pulled out a knife from his pocket. He got 2 feet away from where Hakufu was, and thrust his knife forward. He was suddenly launched to the other side of the junkyard. Everyone turned to Naruto standing next to Hakufu with his left fist forward. Hanu got up, and mumbled, you bastard. Naruto scoffed, I'm a bastard now. Naruto then walked over to where Hanu rested. He then grabbed his neck harshly, and picked him up off the ground. Well, I'd rather be a bastard than a rat. Naruto then let go of Hanu, and thrust the plum of his hand into Hana's gut. Hanu hit the ground, and then Naruto lifted him up again, and threw him over to his gang of fellow students. Why don't you stay there like a good boy, and stop running the fight? Naruto ordered Hanu. Hanu tried to get up, and grunted, you bastard. Who the hell do you think you are? Naruto ignored him, and went back to his original position, and sat down. Taishijai then turned to Naruto, and said, I'm curious, as well. Who are you, and what business do you have here? Naruto then glanced at the man before he said, Naruto Uzumaki, and I came to this part by a happy mistake. Everyone raised an eyebrow at that little intro. What school do you come from? Naruto blinked, and said, none of your concern. Taishijai was about to say something else, until another voice shouted, hey, don't ignore me, Hakufu yelled, as she tried to punch Taishijai again. Taishijai only dodged the punch, and delivered his own. Hakufu was thrown back by the force. Hakufu then got up again, and tried to kick her opponent again, but only for the same results. Hakufu only got up, and started to relentlessly and recklessly kick Taishijai while yelling, bastard, bastard, bastard. Taishijai only ignored the kick, and finally intercepted her foot, and gave her another punch. Hakufu only continued to get up and tried to bring down her adversary. The results all ended the same. After 10 minutes of reckless assault by Hakufu, and Taishijai only giving her a punch every time, Hakufu fell on the ground, and Kukin crawled to her. "Hakufu, stop! Stand down!" Kukin ordered Hakufu. Hakufu got to her hands and knees, and shouted no. "Stop fighting!" Kukin continued to reason with his stubborn cousin. "He was not even taking you seriously." Hakufu got to her knees, faced her cousin. "I don't want to hear that," she cried childishly while flailing her arms. Taishijai heard Kukin's comment and thought, "I've only been using about 60% of my full strength, but she took 20 of my punches. She isn't an ordinary fighter." Kukin continued to argue with Hakufu by saying your basic skills are different from his. "Just give it up." Hakufu then shouted, "What do you mean basic skills? We won't know unless we try." Suddenly Hakufu's expression changed from frustrated to cherry, as she said, "Basic? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. The basics." Hakufu then stood straight up and crossed her arms. She looked like she was meditating, and a light green aura outlined her whole body. Her posture changed completely, Taishijai thought, mildly shocked by this sudden change in Hakufu's tactics. Kukin recognized Hakufu's movements and said that is Chagasha Naiman Ken. "Hey, how can you use that? You've only seen it just once," he shouted to Hakufu. "I know this may not work," but Hakufu thought, and then charged at Tashiji. "I'm too excited to stop myself." Taishijai thrust his fist toward Hakufu, and Hakufu twisted her body to avoid the punch, and thrust the palm of her hand at Taishijai's abdominals, while shouting, "Take this." When Hakufu's hand reached Taishijai's body, Taishijai's shirt ripped off, and flew backwards. Hakufu also flew backwards, and part of her own shirt was ripped to shreds, exposing most of her cleavage. Taishijai landed on the ground, flat on his back, while Hakufu landed on a pile of trash. Taishijai laid on his back, dumbfounded by Hakufu actually landing a hit while saying, "What is this power?" Taishijai got up and walked towards Hakufu, with a grin planted on his face. "Stand up," Taishijai ordered Hakufu. "Didn't you say your motto was to return what you borrowed? Well, you only returned one punch. You have 19 to go." Hakufu got up, but was wobbling, while saying, "Yeah, you're right. Only this time I'm going to make sure you go all out." Truth be told, I'm kind of excited. Taishijai grinned even further at her request. He then raised both of his hands. "Alright, but just to let you know, I might make you cry." Hakufu returned the grin, and said, "That's my line." The fight began with Hakufu making the first move by throwing another punch at Taishijai, only for Taishijai to dodge the oncoming punch, and land his own on her abdominals. Hakufu fell back due to the force of the punch, but quickly recovered. She ran at Taishijai again, and made a successful hit. Taishijai was more prepared for the impact, and only shuffled back a few inches. Taishijai then threw another punch at Hakufu, who dodged and delivered another kick. Taishijai took the blow, and finally landed on his own. Hakufu was thrown back by the punch, and landed on a pile of trash. She only got up, and started to wobble a little. Nevertheless, Hakufu charged at Taishijai, and threw another punch. Taishijai grabbed her fist, and landed his strongest punch on her gut. Hakufu flew back onto the ground. This time she tried to get up, only to fall flat on her back. Finally, and silently admitting defeat, Kukin was finally able to get up, and walked over to his cousin. He keenly down, and gently laid her on his knees. Hakufu was barely awake, but she was able to roughly see Taishijai, and said the thanks for going all out. Taishijai Hakufu then fainted. The rain started to come down slowly upon all those in the area. Taishijai merely muttered, "You're welcome," turned around, and said, "We're done here. Move out." He told all of his fellow students. Every one of the students left the area without complaint or argument. Only Hanu yelled, "Taishijai, we can't." Tashiji, and the others simply ignored him. "Damn it, don't act like this," Hanu muttered to himself. Naruto saw everything. He was impressed with Hakufu's performance. Despite being a D-rank fighter at best, and not a lot of skills, she had a lot of power and potential. Naruto got up from where he was sitting, and walked over to where Kukin was trying to get up, with his cousin on his shoulders. "Need a hand?" Naruto spoke, getting Kukin's attention. Kukin looked at Naruto, and pulled himself and Hakufu back, as if he was trying to back away from him. Naruto saw this, and chuckled lightly. "I'm not going to fight you. I'm merely asking if you wanted help." Kukin saw that he was being genuine. There was no ill intent in his voice. "Yeah, we're going to need it." Naruto nodded, and walked around to Hakufu's left side. They then picked Hakufu up from the ground, and Naruto said, "Should we go to the hospital?" Kukin answered, "My place. Hakufu isn't that badly injured, and she only needs to rest." Naruto nodded, and said, "Lead the way." Kukin nodded, and started to walk. As they walked, Kukin then said, "Hey, thank you for helping us back there." "It was nothing." Naruto spoke to Kukin. Kukin only looked back, and then at Naruto when he asked, "Why did you really come and help us?" Naruto sighed, and thought, "What is this, an interrogation?" then said I already said it. I came to those parts by a happy mistake. Kukin was going to ask another question when suddenly about 5 other fighters, the one in front, who had a sword attached to his right hip, then spoke. It looks like we caught up to you guys just in time. Kukin slightly glared at the crowd, and said, who are you? The leader of the team then said, I'm Mamyu Shiru, of Yusha Private School. Kukin's eyes widened, and he then said, what are you doing here? Didn't Taishijai call off the attack? The group just laughed, and one of them spoke. Yeah, Taishijai cancelled the order, but he is not the leader, is he? Naruto understood perfectly. So Yusha is going ahead with the order Totaku gave you? Naruto asked. Yeah, we're just doing your job, and making sure we save ourselves from Totaku's wrath, one of the fighters said. And now since the booby bomb is almost dead right now, we should have no problem taking her out, Mamyu spoke, as he emphasized taking her with a perverted grin. Naruto scoffed. He let go of Hakufu's arm, and walked over to the group. He turned to Kukin, and said, get out of here. I'll take care of these weaklings. Kukin stumbled a little at the order. Wait, you can't? Naruto turned his head. Listen, you have to help that girl. You can't fight these guys while protecting her. I can take care of a bunch of D-rank flunkies. Naruto spoke to the boy. Kukin was about to protest, when suddenly one of the grunts of the group ran at them with a steel bat while shouting, who are you calling a flunky? Jackass. The grunt raised the bat. Naruto only caught the wrist, and threw the guy into a trash can with little effort. Naruto turned to a shocked Kukin, and said, leave, now. From here on out, your safety is not my concern. Naruto then turned in the direction of the now 4-member gang. Kukin was reluctant, but nevertheless, he started to head a different route while carrying Hakufu. Naruto sensed Kukin, and Hakufu thought finally, now I can enjoy a nice peaceful fight. Another grunt of the gang then shouted, hey, who the hell do you think you are, Basta? His rant was interrupted when Naruto quickly ran at him and kicked him in his neck. The guy flew back towards the other end of the alley. The last 2 grunts then charged at Naruto with one holding a pocket knife, while the other held a long, thick pipe. They both tried to strike Naruto, keyword tired. Naruto simply dodged both of the attacks, and, as they continued to fall forward, Naruto grabbed the collar of their shirts and threw them to the wall opposite of each other. Both of the goons hit the wall hard and fell to the ground. Naruto turned to the last goon and said, I'll give you one chance. Leave, and crawl back to your rat hole, or there's no way you're going to get out of this alive. Mamyu was a little startled by the warning, but quickly brought his sword out, and said, yeah, you're tough. Big deal. You don't stand a chance against me. Mamyu then rushed at Naruto with his sword thrusting forward. Yukaki's son of a bai. Mamyu was then punched in the head by Naruto. Naruto then grabbed the boy's wrist and slung him towards the wall. Mamyu hit the wall head first, and his head exploded. The rest of his body slid onto the ground. Naruto looked around the alley and saw all of the fighters laying on the ground in various positions. Hump, not even a warm-up. Naruto turned to leave the alley, but not before he noticed one of the grunts trying to reach for his knife while laying down. Naruto, in turn, stomped on the boy's head and knocked him out. Naruto continued to walk out of the alley and into the streets. He paused for a minute to see either Kukin or Hakufu in sight. Must have gotten away, Naruto thought, and continued to walk, this time to Sido. Naruto continued to walk through the busy streets, despite the rain. He came to a stop when he heard his cell phone ring, and rummaged through his pocket to dig it out. When he brought his phone into clear view, he saw he had a message sent to him. Must be everyone back home, Naruto concluded, as he opened his mail to say, Imperial Order. The big fighter tournament shall commence in 2 days' time. Order issued by Totaku Chuai of Rakuya High School. Naruto read the message with his eyes. He knew the big fighter tournament was a huge event for every school in the Kanto region. All the schools in the region would select up to 5 students to represent their school. The winner of the tournament would be rewarded the Gyokuji, Japanese, sovereign seal, and would be not only acknowledged as the ruler of the other schools, but are allowed to set the date off the next tournament. The last tournament was held about 2 years ago, and the results were disastrous. A freshman, from Rakuya High, had massacred every other student, and had earned, not only the hatred of all the other schools, but the title the Demon of the West, Totaku Chuai. Because of Totaku's action in not only the big fighter tournament, but also taking advantage of the power the Gyokuji held, and taking over the other schools around the Kanto region, many of the other schools have become anti-Totaku, and most likely use the tournament as an excuse to get close to him. The weird thing is that Totaku is aware of all of this campaign against him. Why would he allow the tournament to go through? Naruto thought. Naruto finally arrived at Sido, and saw that one of the spare room's lights was on. He turned to the room, and knocked on the door. A voice from behind the door then said, come in. Naruto opened the door to see not only Kenyu, Ryubi, Chousen, Kome, Chuhi, but also Kuchikancho, a bald guy who dressed in monk-like garments. He's also very thoughtful and shy, especially around women. Naruto only concluded one thing about this gathering. So, you guys got the message too? Kenyu answered yes. We were just discussing who should enter, since Totaku will likely think we're plotting something if we don't attend. Naruto nodded, and said, so who do you have in mind? Kanu then said, I was thinking of only sending myself to the tournament, that way we don't lose any manpower here, and Sido will be out of Totaku's attention. If I may make a request, Naruto spoke to everyone to gain their attention. I wish to attend the same tournament with you, Kanu. Kanu gave a questioning look. Why, if I may ask? Naruto then said, there are two certain someone that I'm sure will enter the tournament that I would like to face. Everyone raised an eyebrow at that one. Who are these two people? Kanu asked. Naruto then said, Taishijai Shigi, of Yusha Private School, and Hakufu Sansaku of Nanyo Academy. Everyone flinched at the list of Naruto opponents. Then Chuhi said, aren't your choices of opponents a bit extreme for you? Well, I know Taishijai is for certain, but I heard rumors about Hakufu Sansaku. Naruto was interested in this piece of information. Rumors? They say that she tried to fight 30 students at Nanyu High on her first day there, and a few days after that, she fought Ryomou Shimi to a standstill, and put her in the hospital. Now there's a rumor that she fought Tashiji, but lost. Naruto listened to all this, and said the first one isn't surprising, considering how she acts. The third one isn't a rumor, since it actually happened. But the second one, I'm surprised she could take on one of the big four of Nanyu considering how strong she is. Everyone was confused by what he said. What do you mean the third rumor was true, and how strong she is? Chousen asked Naruto. Naruto closed his eyes and thought, and said, well, if I have to summarize her, she is incredibly stupid, childish, and a D-rank fighter at best. A D-rank at best? You gotta be shitting me, Chuhi shouted at Naruto. Naruto responded, nope. The only thing worth noting about her is that she has an amazing amount of power, and potentially. Other than that, she is just a stupid, low-class fighter. Kanu nodded her head, and said, I don't see why you fight with Naruto so badly, Naruto. If she isn't a great fighter, you usually ignore low competition, and head for stronger opponents. Naruto chuckled. Very observant of you, Kanu. Naruto then slid from his sitting position, and laid on his back. Yes, normally I would skip her for someone else, but there is something special in her. Everyone was once again confused by his choice of words. Before any of them could answer, Naruto got up from his seat, and said, I've had a long day, so I'm just going to turn in for the night. Naruto then left the room, but not before he heard everyone say goodnight. Naruto headed for his bedroom, and stripped himself of his clothes, saving his shirt and boxers. He laid his body down on the pillow, and drifted off to sleep. Next day, Naruto woke up to his usual wake-up call. Chuhi throws Ryubi again. Naruto got up, got dressed, and headed for the breakfast hall. Naruto saw everyone around the table enjoying their meals, and Ryubi slightly banged up. You stole Chuhi's snacks again, didn't you, Ryubi? Naruto spoke to Ryubi. Ryubi simply looked down, and said, I honestly didn't know they were hers, Naruto-san. Chuhi threw her arms around Ryubi's shirt, and started to shake her violently. What the hell do you mean you didn't know? I wrote a warning note on all of the bags, Chuhi yelled at Ryubi. Everyone else just simply ignored the argument, and continued with their breakfast. Naruto himself grabbed a bowl of rice, and sat down. Naruto raised his hand to his mask, and lowered it from his face. Komi eyed Naruto, lowering his mask. Naruto noticed, and said, what? Why do you wear that mask, Naruto? Komi asked. Naruto glanced at her, and looked away to hide his blush on his cheeks. Everyone else, who heard the said question, started to let out either a light laugh in Chousen and Kanu's case, or just flat out laughing their asses off in Shuhi's case, or just staying silent in Ryubi and Kuchu's case. Naruto turned to Komi, and said, just a certain event that made me realize that I needed one of these. Chuhi finally was able to speak through her, and said, yeah, it involved two girls, and a say Chuhi explanation was cut off when a bowl was thrown at her by none other than Naruto himself. Zip it! Naruto yelled at Chuhi, while glaring at her. Chuhi got up, and returned the glare. What the hell was that for? Next time you want to jabber on about someone's personal tragedies, you're just going to get your ass hooped. Naruto snarled. Come on, that's no reason to hit your friend in the head with a bowl. Chuhi yelled at Naruto. You think I want to relive that nightmare? I was lucky to save my own ass from those psychotic nutcases. Naruto yelled even more at Chuhi. All those girls wanted was a couple kisses. Chuhi spoke, only to be interrupted by Naruto saying a couple kisses. Those two tried to ass rape me. Kanu grabbed his Sairyu, Japanese, green dragon crescent blade, and slammed the flat side on the back of both Chuhi and Naruto's head. Quiet you two, remember there's a child here. Kanu scolded both of her friends. Komi looked at everyone with her normal childish confusion, and turned to Ryubi. What was he talking about, Ryubi-chan? Ryubi began to flail her arms wildly, and stuttered while Komi-chan. I don't know how Kanu took over. What Ryubi means in Komi is that you can't ask questions about that certain subject. Komi then asked why? Kanu answered back, because you can't. End of discussion. Komi puffed her cheeks, and began to pout. Everyone just returned to their breakfast. Naruto finished up quickly, and put his mask back on. Naruto got up from the table and began to leave the room. But just as he exited the door, he heard on the radio, and in other news, a student from Yusha Private School, identified as Taishijai Shigi, was admitted into Kanto General Hospital after he was found in an alley with a puncture wound in his abdominals and back, near his spinal cord. No news reported on his attackers. His condition is stable, but he has yet to awaken from his coma. Naruto heard the news with his eyes widening. Taishijai was attacked. By who? Naruto turned to everyone in the room and said, I'm going out for a while. Don't wait up. Before any of them responded, Naruto left through the door and down the patio. Naruto walked through the streets of town. He wanted to get to the hospital faster, but he didn't want to attract too much attention. Even in broad daylight, Totaku had eyes everywhere. Naruto finally reached the hospital and saw the same girl that fought against Taishijai, only this time, she wore a white shirt under an orange vest and a brown skirt, holding some flour and a teddy bear in her arms. Alright, let's go, Hakufu shouted to herself, and then she felt and heard something crack in her ribs as she grasped herself and said, ow. Naruto walked over to Hakufu and said, you alright? Hakufu looked over to her left and saw Naruto, but only responded, yeah, I'm fine. She then turned to Naruto and then said, who are you? Naruto glared at her, but he remembered that she was mostly knocked out when he introduced himself the other day. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Hakufu Sansaka. Hakufu was about to ask him how he knew her name when she saw his Magatama. Hey, you wear that bead. Does that mean you're a fighter too? Hakufu asked Naruto. Yes, I am, Naruto answered. Did you come here to see a friend too? Hakufu asked, as she surprisingly observed his presence in the area. Yes, I am, Taishijai. In fact, Naruto answered again. Hakufu's face brightened up at this and shouted, hey, so am I. Why don't we go together? Hakufu began to march into the hospital. Naruto just shook his head and followed Hakufu. Hakufu and Naruto went to the register and faced the lady. Hakufu then said, excuse me. The lady turned to them. Do you know which room a Taishijai Shigi is held in? The lady turned to a paper attached to a clipboard and said, are you a friend or relative? A friend, Hakufu answered. The lady nodded her head and pointed to her right and said, go down the hallway to your left and continue down that way. You can't miss his room because two boys are standing outside his room. Naruto bowed lightly and said thanks. He began to walk in the direction he was informed. He minds wondering a little towards Hakufu. Why is she here in the first place? She doesn't look like the type to plot revenge. Hell, she doesn't even look like she thinks before she acts. Naruto and Hakufu finally arrived at where Taishijai's room was guarded by two guys about as tall as Taishijai. They both wore various clothes. Naruto only glanced at both of the fighters and then at the door. There was a sign beside the brown door that said no visitors are allowed. Hakufu only let out a stupid chuckle and handed the teddy bear and the flowers to one of the fighters with a blue shirt, black pants, brown hair, and a goatee on his face while saying, please accept these gifts. The fighters looked bewildered at her gesture, but Hakufu bared no mind as she spoke again. So can I go see Taishijai now? Everyone's sweat dropped at her question, and the other fighter, who had dark skin, spiky black hair, with a red jacket, sunglasses, and blue jeans, said, can't you read? He pointed to the sign. Hakufu looked at the sign for a moment and then crouched down. No visitor are allowed, right? Hakufu giggled when she finally finished speaking. The brown-haired fighter spoke in disbelief. You really can't read? The spiky-haired fighter then said, no visitors are allowed, period. Naruto stepped up towards the two fighters. There's no reason for you to get snippy with us. The fighter holding Hakufu's gifts turned his head and let out a few light years as he said, Taishijai still hasn't woken up. He has been this way since Ryomou and Kanu attacked him. Naruto's eyes narrowed at this newfound piece of info. Why would Ryomou attack his own men? Nevertheless, the only men under him that could defend him. Naruto questioned the two fighters. It's her fault, the brown-haired fighter yelled while pointing himself towards Hakufu. After the fight between them, Taishijai was walking down where Ryomou was, and Ryomou stabbed him in the back, saying it would save his neck from Totaku's wrath. Then Kanu stabbed him, as a way of getting back at him for getting in his way. Hakufu's eyes widened in shock at this, and realized that Taishijai's condition was her fault. Naruto gritted his teeth while mumbling bastards. Hakufu turned away with her head hung low, while the fighter continued, it's all your fault. If you just, his friend placed his hand on his shoulder and scolded him. That's enough. Naruto was about to say something, but suddenly a light gust of wind was blowing through the corridors of the hospital. The source was strangely coming from Hakufu. When the wind died down, Hakufu stood where she was for a second and walked away. Naruto looked oddly at Hakufu and thought that energy that burst off of her, it seems familiar, like Ryubi's energy. I'll go looking for her later. Naruto turned his attention to the two fighters. I want to see Taishijai for a second. Naruto spoke to the two. The two fighters glared at him, and the black-haired fighter said, why should we let you? Because I think I can help Taishijai. I only need to be in the room for 1 minute, and then I'm out. I'll be back in a few hours to check up on him, and we'll go from there," Naruto explained. The brown-haired fighter then said, "What do you intend to do?" Naruto glanced at the fighter, and answered, "I'm going to put a little bit of my energy into Taishijai's system that will slowly heal his spinal cord and the other wounds." They both raised their eyebrows at this, and were about to say something, until Naruto intervened. "If you're going to ask how I can do such a thing, save your breath." The fighter's eyes then narrowed, and one of them said, "How do we know we can trust you?" "Hey, you don't," Naruto said quite plainly. Naruto strolled past the two boys, and entered Taishijai's room. In there he found Taishijai laying on the bed, wearing the hospital's clothes, and a needle in his arm. Naruto strolled through the room by Taishijai's side, and placed his hand on his chest. He closed his eyes, and thought, "Okay, nice and easy. Don't go too fast, or too strong, or I'll kill him." Naruto's hand, which was on Taishijai, began to emit a white glow, and slowly entered Taishijai. The results were unexpected for the two bodyguards, as they watched Taishijai's body react. First his eyes started to twitch, and his hands became fists for a few moments, before resigning back to his original position. Naruto started to leave, but he stopped at the door, between the two guards. "He's fine now. I'll be back to check up on him." Naruto began to walk down the hall, but halted when he heard, "Why did you do that?" Naruto didn't bother to turn around, but he answered, "Because honorable fighters deserve to live, not get stabbed in the back by their so-called allies." Naruto walked out of the hospital without any hitch. Only when he got outside the hospital did he realize something. "Shit, I don't know which way Hakufu went." Naruto placed his thoughts earlier, and then found the answer. Hakufu was noticeably upset about the Tashigi leader attacking him, so she must have gone to Yusha private school. "Is this girl stupid or what?" Naruto concluded, and began to walk in the direction. A man, leaning against the hospital wall, reached for his phone, and dialed a number. Rikuya High School. Inside a lush greenhouse, full of colorful and exotic-looking flowers, 3 people sat around a clear spot, away from the flowers. The first person was a girl, with green hair, a brown vest that somewhat exposed the upper part of her massive chest, and a brown skirt. She was lying on her knees in front of the other 2 figures. The second person was also a girl, wearing a similar outfit that the other girl wore, but she had a white button-down shirt underneath it. She had long, black hair, and glasses. She was also on her knees while a boy laid his head down on them. The third person was the only boy among the 3. He had short brown hair, with brown, large eyes. His clothes consisted of just a white button-down and black pants. His face and arms were shown to be wearing bandages. He laid on the black-haired girl's knees while he was tearing apart a flower he held in his hand. "Kaku, have we received any info on this new fighter that crashed on Ryuu's mission?" The boy spoke, while he took his hand away from the flower, and he threw his eyes towards the raven-haired girl. The girl, Kaku, only responded, "Not much, Totaku. The only thing we have on him is his name, Naruto Uzumaki. We have no idea what school he comes from, but Ryuu's men estimate that he could be a B-rank fighter, seeing how easily he took down 5 fighters all by himself." Totaku merely glanced back at the flower, and started to resume his earlier activity. "Ryuu is a fool to think that I'll continue to let him live because he tried to kill the one responsible for the failed mission, and then tried to make up for the mistake by sending out another squad that failed." The flower, in Totaku's hand, petals was dwindling down in only 2. "It's a shame that their only fighter that was worth taking over that school is gone. Good people are just so hard to find these days. Isn't that right, Ryofu?" Totaku changed the direction of his conversation to the green-haired girl, Ryofu. Ryofu nodded at her. "I couldn't agree more with Totaku, but if I may ask, why is he still alive?" Totaku let out a dark chuckle before he said, "Because I feel if I leave him alive long enough, a decent surprise will come my way." Totaku ripped off the second flower petal. "Of course, that is just my imagination at work." A phone rang throughout the greenhouse, and Kaku dug through her pocket and answered the caller. "Hello?" Kaku spoke on the phone. Her eyes widened a few seconds after she answered her phone. "Where is he?" Kaku orders the caller to tell her. "Okay, I'll inform him." Kaku pressed a button on her phone and turned to Totaku. Naruto was spotted at Gunai Road and Shushi Avenue, leaving Kanto General Hospital. Totaku, should I order a squad of fighters to attack him? Totaku didn't say anything for a moment. He just stared at the flower and picked the last flower petal off. "No need." Totaku finally spoke. "If what they say is true, a dozen D-rank fighters will probably not be much of a challenge for him." Ryofu and Kaku were shocked by this. "But wouldn't it be hazardous to leave him unchecked?" Kaku asked Totaku. Totaku dropped the remains of the flower and said, "Yes, that is true." His eyes lingered towards Ryofu. "Would you mind checking up on him, Ryofu?" Totaku asked. "No, not at all, sir." Ryofu got up and headed for the door. She paused for a second before reaching for the door handle. "If I may, can I bring a friend along?" Totaku gave a light grin and said, "Do as you please." Ryofu smiled, and left the building. Ryofo walked a little ways from Totaku's room, and saw the person she was looking for. The person was a girl with short, light brown hair, wearing the same uniform as she and Kaku. Ryofo waved at the girl to get her attention. "Hey Chinkyu," she yelled. The girl, Chinkyu, turned to see her friend, and yelled back at Ryofo-san. She ran to her friend, and stopped quickly. "How are you today?" Chinkyu asked. Ryofo waved her hand slightly in front of her. "Just perfect now that I'm with you, baby." Chinkyu blushed a little at this. Ryofo then said, "Listen Chinkyu, I need a little favor." Chinkyu gave a look of confusion, as she asked, "What is Ryofo-san?" "Totaku has asked me to track down this new fighter. He may be a little tough, so I might need some help." Ryofo explained why she needed help. Chinkyu then said, "If you need my assistance, I'll do whatever it takes." Ryofo hugged her friend. "Thanks Chinkyu." She let go, and started to walk off. "We better get going. I heard he was heading through the downtown area." Chinkyu followed closely behind her friend. Downtown area. Naruto walked through the streets unnoticed. Despite his unusual clothes, Naruto turned into an alleyway knowing it was a shortcut to Yushu. What was that girl thinking? Naruto thought you may only have a collection of only D to C rank fighters, but they act together, and can take down a low A rank fighter with a bit of trouble. Naruto finally came out of the alley, only to see two figures blocking the exit. Naruto saw they were both girls wearing the same kind of uniform. He recognized those clothes as Rikuyu's uniforms. The green-haired fighter spoke first. "Looks like we finally caught up to you, Naruto." Naruto narrowed his eyes as he spoke. "You two are from Rikuya High School, aren't you?" Ryofo said, "Yep, I'm Ryofo Hosen, second in command of Rikuya High." The other girl said, "I'm Chinkyu Kudai from Rikuyu, as well." Naruto started to walk towards the two, hoping he could get past them. No such luck was available to him, as Ryofo thrust her hand lightly into Naruto's chest. You can't go anywhere, Naruto." Ryofo playfully scolded Naruto. Naruto glared at her. "And why not?" Ryofo put on an almost sluttish smile, and said with a voice matching her smile, "Because we didn't get to know each other better." Ryofu's hand began to travel up Naruto's chest, and to his mask. Her fingers had traced the realm of the mask before she hooked her fingers under it. Naruto grabbed her wrist, and said, "Sorry, no kisses on the first date." He flung Ryofu's hand away from his mask, and turned the other way. Naruto didn't get 2 steps before Chinkyu ran past him, and blocked his only exit. Naruto groaned deeply, and said, "So this is how we're going to do it?" Ryofu didn't answer, as she said, "We can do this 2 ways, Naruto. We either fight, or you surrender yourself. Which do you choose?" Naruto placed his hand under his head, and curved his fingers around his chin, and said, "HM duets." Naruto's hand quickly flung it to a trash can lid, and threw it like a disc at Ryofu. Ryofu only dodged the projectile, and made her own move towards Naruto, while Chinkyu also ran at Naruto. Naruto dodged their incoming fist, and jumps in the air while spinning around, kicking both of them in the gut. Chinkyu only got nailed, while Ryofu caught Naruto's kick with both of her hands, and spun the foot to make Naruto slip. He flew down to the ground. Naruto's loss of focus in the spin made him hit the ground. Naruto groaned, as he got up, and spoke to Ryofu, "Okay, that was pretty good." Naruto thrust his hand against the ground. He flew into the air, and landed on the ground with his feet. "But don't think that going to take me down, Ryofo Hosen." Ryofu only smiled, and said, "On the contrary, I was hoping for it." Ryofu made a quick punch at Naruto, only for Naruto to jump lightly, and bend his body away from the punch. Naruto thrust his hand toward Ryofu's gut. Ryofu grabbed Naruto's wrist, and thrust her own hand towards Naruto's right shoulder. When Ryofu plummets Naruto's shoulder joint, Naruto's entire arm gives out, and hangs off of him. Naruto jumped away, glanced at his arm, and thought she seems to be an expert at paralysis and joint displacement. Naruto's eyes traveled to both of his opponents. Ryofu is an obvious A-rank fighter, while Chinkyu is more of an average C-rank fighter. Alone Ryofu is more of a problem, but together it is going to be a pain in the ass to deal with. Naruto quickly spun around, and caught Chinkyu's fist with his good hand, and twisted his body towards Ryofu, while still gripping Chinkyu's hand. Naruto pulled his arm over his shoulder, and threw Chinkyu at Ryofu, and the two of them crashed against each other. Naruto's attention was then refocused on both Ryofu and Chinkyu when they began to charge at him, and threw a punch. Naruto narrowly dodged each fist, and landed a kick on each of them, as retribution. Ryofu and Chinkyu got back up, and grasped their stomachs. Ryofu got up first, and spoke to Naruto. "Well, you're doing pretty well with one arm on you, but I'm going to make you an offer since we're in a rush." Naruto raised his eyebrows at this statement. "What offer?" "Well, here the deal," Ryofu started to explain. "Totaku heard about you a little bit ago. He sent us out to see how strong you were, and to see if you were worthy to recruit under his command. I say you passed with an okay amount of star, but I can already tell you're holding back a considerable amount. So bottom line, here's the deal. You come with us, and meet Totaku. or we beat you half to death and drag you to him. Ryomou explained. Thanks, but I don't intend to join Totaku or let you take me to him. Naruto stood straight up with his arms hiding beneath his cloak. Ryomou let out a grin from her face while shaking her head. Ah, you definitely are not making this easy for me. Ryomou suddenly started to rain at Naruto, as she yelled. But as I always say, it's fun to play hard to get. Ryomou ran straight at Naruto, and began to swerve right at Naruto, where his disabled arm was. Naruto grinned as she got close, and he said game over. Naruto's right fist was thrust forward and hit Ryomou dead in the face. Ryomou hit the wall with such extreme force that it left a huge dent in the wall. Ryomou-san, Chinky cried, as she ran to where Ryomou landed. Her eyes barely opened as she spoke to Naruto. How? Your arm was disabled? Naruto finished. He brought his right arm out and flexed it, but here it is, working like it is supposed to. Naruto mocked Ryomou. A ring was heard in the alleyway, and Naruto recognized it as his own and grabbed his phone. Naruto got a message on it and answered it. When Naruto read the message, his eyes widened because of the stunning news. News flash. Yusha Private School has fallen. Hakufu Sansaku of Nanyo Academy had personally overthrown Ryomou and his men. Chinkyu saw a Naruto expression. What is it, an order? She asked. No, Naruto spoke. As he clicked his phone, Yusha was overthrown by Hakufu Sansaku herself. Chinkyu's eyes widened as well. You gotta be kidding me. She got at least 5 men on her side. Chinkyu blurted out. Naruto nodded his head. Nope. Hakufu did it all by herself. Naruto started to turn away and leave the alley. Where are you going? Ryomou yelled at Naruto. Naruto didn't turn to her, he just kept walking, but he still said, our fight is over. See you around. Naruto didn't say anything else, as he left both Chinkyu and Ryomou in the alley. Naruto traveled down the dark, nearly empty streets and sidewalks for a bit when he saw Kenyu walking from the opposite direction. Kenyu glanced at Naruto, and Naruto understood. When their paths crossed, Naruto turned around quickly and followed Kenyu. So you got the news as well? Naruto spoke to Kenyu. Kenyu turned her head to Naruto and nodded yes, thinking she made her move. Naruto let out a light chuckle. Yes, this tournament will be a good one to remember, Naruto proclaimed. Kenyu smiled and said yes. And regarding the tournament, Kenyu spoke, gaining Naruto's attention. I've decided you may come and attend it with me. Naruto's eyes widened at this. You for real? Kenyu let out a light giggle. I've already sent the notice to Totaku to allow us to attend. I hope you're ready for Kenyu, Naruto warned his friend. Likewise, Naruto. Kenyu shot back at Naruto. Naruto looked up to see the stars and murmured, history is about to be made. I just know it. Naruto stood on a train with Kenyu as it moved down the tracks. Naruto was standing to the right of Kenyu, who was sitting in one of the train seats. They both decided to carry their weapons in case something happened during the tournament. Rival school performing sneak attacks wasn't something unheard of. In the train car there were only 2 other people besides them. A civilian and a proctor for the tournament. A student from a neutral school, Keishu Private School. Naruto dug out his phone and double-checked his message. The Big Fighters Tournament announcement for Sido Private School. Your match will be held with Nanban High School on the Chua Line Super Express, bound for Takao at Shursui Station on the 9:42 a.m. train. You will meet your opponents at the Kokabunji Station at 10:13 a.m. Naruto checked the time, and it said 10:10 a.m. Well, this is the right train, and opponents are 3 minutes away. Naruto spoke to Kenyu. Kenyu turned her eyes to Naruto and said, you sound nervous, Naruto. Naruto glared at her. Me nervous? The train stopped, and the door slide opened. Only 5 people came through the same door, and they were all fighters. One of them, who had short black hair and a bandage on his nose, glanced around and eyed them. He scoffed before he said, just 2, I'm insulted. Let's get this over with. Kenyu ordered the proctor. As you know, I'll be the proctor for this match. The proctor fighter informed everyone. The men in the car saw what was about to happen and ran out quickly. The proctor continued. The rules are as followed. Only a maximum of 5 participants per school. Weapons are prohibited. The match is over when the participant is unable to continue. If all of the fighters from one school are unable to continue, the opposing school is declared the victor. All of the fighters from Kanban High went to the opposite side of their opponents. Naruto turned to Kenyu and said, Kenyu, you want to have the first go? Kenyu nodded her head. Yes, thank you for the offer, Naruto. Kenyu spoke as she got up from her seat, leaving her weapon behind, and faced the 5 fighters. So who's first? Kenyu asked her opponents. One of the fighters, who had short black hair hidden under a baseball cap, stepped forward and said, that would be me, Kensai Ryosho. Proctor nodded and said, the first round between Kanban and Sito may now begin. Kensai played the first move by charging at Kenyu and throwing a sloppy punch. Kenyu easily dodged the punch and delivered a low kick to her opponent's legs. Kensai tripped and hit his head on the seat, knocking him out. The proctor glanced at Kensai and announced since Kensai is unable to continue, the round goes to Kanu Unchao. Kanu scoffed at the fallen fighter. Kanu eyed the referee. "Excuse me sir," the referee turned to Kanu, "are we allowed to tag out with our partners between rounds?" The proctor said, "As long as it is between rounds, and when both of the contests are willing, it is permitted." Kanu turned to Naruto, and nodded his head. Naruto understood, and let out a groan. He appeared in the middle of the train, and said, "Okay, I'm up." One of the other fighters, who had a plain white t-shirt and black pants, along with a huge afro from Kanban, got up, as well, and yelled, "Don't think you can beat Nikenmaru Chini as easily as that dumbass Kensai." The proctor then said the second round may now begin. Nikenmaru grinned, as he began to chant, "Nikenmaru is gonna to RIP that stickin' head off of you. Nikenmaru is gonna tear of motherfucking heart out." In the process of his shouting, Naruto jumped towards him lightly, and punched him straight in his nose. Nikenmaru was sent flying to the other side of the car, where he crashed, and fell to the ground unconscious. "Shut the hell up," Naruto spoke, clearly irritated by his former opponent. The proctor eyed the fallen fighter, and said Nikenmaru is unable to battle. The round goes to Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto turned to Kanu, and said, "You're up." Kanu got up, as Naruto sat down. The next fighter stepped forward, and said, "I'm Reiko Juku." The proctor then yelled, "Round 3 of the match will begin now." Reiko then thrust himself towards Kanu. Kanu jumped over him, and let him recover from the rush. Reiko then ran at her again, and delivered a punch. Kanu just raised her hand, caught the punch, and flung him toward Nikenmaru. He hit the wall head first, and fell to the ground. He wasn't getting up. Reiko is unable to continue, and Kanu Unchao wins the round. The proctor announced. Kanu sat back down, as Naruto got up. Naruto then turned to Kanu, and asked, "Can I take the last 2? Kanu nodded. Naruto turned to the 2 remaining fighters, and said, "Who's next?" The boys backed away slightly, but one stepped forward, and said, "Me, Ashioto Kamami." The proctor said the 4th round of the match may now begin. Ashioto ran at Naruto, but he then slid off of his feet, and started to slide down the train to Naruto. Naruto jumped into the air, and his hands landed on the ceiling of the train. He pushed off of the ceiling, and his feet landed on Ashioto's face, knocking him out. Ashioto is unable to continue. The round goes to Naruto Uzumaki. The proctor announced. The last fighter was getting scared of Naruto, because now he had no choice but to face him. Naruto glared at him, and said, "Well, aren't you going to fight, or stand there shitting yourself?" Naruto provoked the remaining fighter. This snapped the Kanban fighter out, and returned the glare. "Where the hell do you get off talking to me, Shokushikiyu, like that?" Shokushi yelled at his challenger. The proctor took the message. The 5th round of the match may now commence. Shokushu then charged at Naruto with his fist ready to hit his foe. Naruto whirls around, and lifts his foot into Shokushu's gut. Shokushu flew into the wall of the train, and crashed. He slid down, and fainted. The proctor observed the battlefield, and said Shokushikiyu is unable to continue. The 5th round goes to Naruto Uzumaki, and Sido Private School has won the match. The train's door had opened when the proctor finished, and both Naruto and Kanu stepped out. Before they got further, the proctor then said, "You will both be notified of your next match, and its location." Naruto and Kanu nodded, and left the area. Naruto then turned to Kanu. "I'm going to run an errand." Kanu only nodded her head, and said, "Go ahead, I'll call you when and where our next match is." Naruto nodded, and walked away. Kanu watched as Naruto disappeared, and let out a sigh. He is just walking out, like always. Kanu traveled in the other direction, as her mind traveled to her memories. Flashback. The full moonlight shines through an open door, and in the doorway show 3 people, Kanu, Ryubi, and Naruto. Kanu turned to Naruto, and said, "This will be your room, Naruto. There's a futon in the closet for you to sleep in." Naruto nodded, and bowed a little to Kanu and Ryubi. "Thank you," he spoke politely. "You're welcome." Both Kanu and Ryubi spoke, and headed down the patio. Kanu then turned to Ryubi, as they walked the patio. "I hope you know what you're doing, Ryubi." Ryubi smiled cheerfully, and said, "I don't think he is going to be much of a problem for Kansan." Kanu shocks her head a little at Ryubi's cheerful gesture. They finally appeared at Ryubi's room, and Kanu then said, "I'll be doing my chores with Naruto tomorrow, Ryubi, after we introduce everyone to him." Ryubi nodded, and said, "Okay, good night, Kansan." Kanu then said, "Good night, Ryubi." Kanu left Ryubi to journey to her own room, where she retired for the night. Next day, Kanu walked along the patio of her home, fully dressed, and walking towards the room of the new resident. When she arrived at his room, she knocked on the door, and said, "Are you awake, Naruto?" She heard behind the door, "Yep." Kanu then entered the room to see Naruto sitting on the futon with his headband, and a necklace in front of him. Kanu eyed the items, and said, "Treasures of yours? More like a curse you wear." Naruto picked up the headband, and the necklace, and traveled towards Kanu. "Do you know where the trash can is?" Kanu eyebrow raised to that question. "There's one on the side of the building." "Why?" Naruto answered there's no point keeping these around. He stepped out of his room and turned towards the building where the trash can was. Before he got too far, Kanu called out to him. Naruto turned to her. Before you dump your own trash, I want you to meet everyone first. Kanu informed Naruto. Naruto nodded silently and turned back to Kanu. He stuffed the necklace and the headband in his pocket. Where are they? Naruto questioned. Kanu only turned in a different direction and said probably at the dining room. And just to let you know, after breakfast, you're going to help me do some chores around here. Naruto looked up. Chores? Kanu nodded her head and said yes, we just have to do a few things around here. And then I need you to come grocery shopping with me. And we need to pick out some clothes with you. Naruto jotted down the list of things to do and then asked the question, how am I going to pay for the clothes? I don't have any money. Kanu then thought of a solution for the problem quickly. I'll buy the clothes now, but you have to pay me back when you get a job. Naruto thought about it for a second and then said I'll do it. Kanu nodded, and both of them finally reached the dining room and saw everyone there. Everyone in the room turned their eyes to both Naruto and Kanu, but they stared more at Naruto. Chuhi was the first to speak. Is this the guy that took out those Yosha fighters yesterday? Kanu nodded her head and said yes. Ryubi found him by the hill the other day, and Ryubi insisted on letting him stay here. Chuhi then commented, and you let him stay? Kanu then said not right away Chuhi, I sent him out, but he then managed to stop the attack. When me and Ryubi were heading out to the park, I heard a little noise, and I investigated. We found Naruto tying up the 3 fighters in a tree before he collapsed. Me and Ryubi then brought him here and fixed him up. Everyone nodded in response to understanding, but Komei didn't, and instead said how do you not know he wasn't just with Kansan? She spoke up about her suspicion. Ko-chan, Ryubi scolded her friend. Naruto waved his hand in front of Ryubi and said don't bother Ryubi. After all, she puts up a good argument. Everyone paused and looked at Naruto with questions evident on their faces. After all, I appeared out of the blue, in front of your very doorsteps. Then, by a lucky accident, a small group of people planned to attack your very school, and I defeat them with no support. So yes, you have every right to place me under your suspicion. The entire room sat quietly with intense interest in his move about supporting their strategist's suspicion. But Naruto, without warning, continued, if I did spy on your school, from what school, would I really be telling you all this? Komei thought for a moment, and then said no, not unless you're a very bad spy. There you have it. Naruto said I'm not in any way, shape or form a spy. Komei narrowed her eyes, and then said you may have a few good pointers, but don't think you're in the clear just yet. Understandable. Naruto finished up. Kanu decided to intervene before things got ugly. As I was saying, me and Ryubi are allowing him to stay, but he needs to help out around here. So after breakfast, he'll start his chores with me, and we'll be going out shopping. For what? Chuhi asked. Kanu turned to Chuhi and said for some groceries, and get Naruto some clothes. Chuhi then raised her hand, but before she could mouth a word Kanu said no Chuhi, I will not buy you your snacks. Chuhi's head fell a little in disappointment, and Kanu then walked over to the table and prepared a bowl of rice. Naruto did the same. After breakfast was finished, Kanu got up and turned to Naruto. She said, gaining his attention, would you please come with me, so we can start on our chores? Naruto nodded and followed Kanu to a closet. Kanu reached into the closet, grabbed a huge trash bag, and threw it to Naruto. First, we're going to collect the trash. Follow me please. Naruto did as instructed, and followed Kanu to everyone's room. First they entered Ryubi's room, which was littered with books stacked on top of books. Ryubi's trash is all over the place. You can start here since it is the hardest area. Kanu instructed Naruto. Naruto nodded, and started to pick up all the trash in the room. He filled up about half of the bag. Kanu then exited the room, and walked down the hall to the next room, which was Chuhi's room. Then they moved to all the other rooms until the room's trash was collected, and the trash bag was full. Kanu then led Naruto to the side of the building. Naruto dumped the trash into one of the trash cans, and reached into his pocket, and dug out the headband and the necklace. I don't see what you hate about those things so much, Naruto. Kanu spoke to the boy. Naruto turned to Kanu, and said they're just something I don't want to see or remember again. Naruto threw the headband and the necklace into the trash. They just bring up a lot of bad memories. Naruto then walked towards Kanu, and said so what's next? Flashback end. Kanu shook her head at the end of that memory, and then thought what exactly are you running away from Naruto? She continued to walk down the street. Rikuya High School. Totaku, Kaku, Ryomou, and Chinkyu all sat around a screen that had all of the schools and the matches listed. They all focused on the tab that showed Sito advancing to the second round a lot quicker than the others. It seems that Kanu and Naruto won their match to Akio-Sama. Kaku commented. Totaku then said I can understand why. Kanu is a great fighter, and so is Naruto. 1,000 soldiers pales in comparison to a powerful warrior. Totaku then turned to Ryomou and said, "By the way, you never did tell us about your little adventure last night, Ryomou." Ryomou then answered that Naruto is a lot stronger than any of us gave him credit for. He managed to move his disabled arm in a matter of seconds. He is resourceful and very quick. Well, it seems Naruto may be more of a problem than I originally anticipated. Totaku, in his own way, applauded Naruto. Totaku then let out a small laugh and said, "I have an idea. Let's see how strong Shohao is by having her face Sito's fighters." Everyone's eyes widened at this proposal. Why would you like to have them face each other? Sansaku is too weak to be a match for Naruto, let alone can you? Ryomou questioned her master's action. That may be true, but either one of them might be strong enough to make her snap, and then it might end with some satisfying results. Totaku explained his plan. The winner will live, and the loser will die, or even better, they all will die. Kaku finished her master's statement. Excellent observation, Kaku. Totaku complimented his third in command. That way the Shohao can possibly eliminate 2 hazardous elements for me, and hopefully herself in the tow. Ryomou said nothing, but was either displeased about her leader's choice. Kanto General Hospital. Naruto was outside of Taishijai's room. Taishijai's bodyguards were, as always, standing in front of the door. "What do you want?" The spiky hair fighter spoke to Naruto. "Just checking up on a patient." Naruto entered the room without another word to the fighter. When he entered the room, he saw Taishijai laying on the bed immobile, and his eyes shut. Naruto observed Taishijai's condition, but his focus was broken when one of the bodyguards said the doctor said that Taishijai's wounds are sealed up, and the spinal cord's nervous system is repaired, but he still hasn't woken up. Of course he hasn't. I focused my energy into healing his wounds. I didn't focus my energy into his system to reboot him. Even then it could take a little time for his body to get used to the energy and absorb it. Naruto explained. Naruto then placed his hand on Taishijai's chest and began to insert a little energy into Taishijai's system. When he was done, Naruto left the room without saying another word. Naruto left the hospital, and his phone rang. Naruto grabbed his phone and read the message. The Big Fighters Tournament announcement for Sito Private School. Your next match will be held with Nanyu Academy on the rooftop of the Kaishin apartment complex in the Shirkai district at 4:15 p.m. Nanyu, huh? Well, this is fun. Naruto muttered to himself and left for the Shirkai district. Naruto walked down the alleyways, and then he stopped suddenly. He heard a girl's voice yelling, Hey, come and get me." Naruto recognized the voices as Hakufu Sansaku. What is that girl doing now? Naruto thought to himself. His question was answered when he heard another voice that yelled, Hakufu Sansaku, "I'll kill you." The voice was high-pitched, but it still sounded like a guy. Okay, now I'm curious. Naruto then moved to the side of the alley away, and saw not only Hakufu and Kukin, but a man dressed in an orange, dragon-decorated jacket, with a pair of tonfa, with black hair, a silver magatama, and a look that said he was insane. Naruto recognized the man as Kaniai Kuha of the Big Four of Nanyu Academy. Naruto remained hidden when he heard Kukin shout to Kaniai, "Why are you still chasing after Hakufu?" Kaniai stopped running, and answered with a great amount of excitement. "It's an order from Enjiatsukuro, the leader of Nanyu Academy?" Naruto thought, as he continued to hear Kukin speak. But that order was already cancelled. Kaniai shook his head vigorously, and he said no. He gave the order. Kaniai then took his phone out, and Kukin read what an imperial order. At Ikebukuro Westgate underground parking lot, you must kill Hakufu Sansaku at all costs. But why? Kukin questioned Kaniai, but he looked at the date, and saw it was today's date. Hakufu then turned back to everyone, and said, "Hey, what's going on?" Kaniai then closed his phone, and said, "I'll kill you, Hakufu Sansaku." That answers that question. Hakufu spoke, as she turned around to run again, only to step on a pop can, and trip over it. Hakufu crashed on the ground, as Kaniai jumped into the air while aiming his tonfa at her. Kukin saw this, and jumped in front of Hakufu, and took the blow. Kukin covered his head with his arm, and he managed to break the one tonfa. Everyone in the alley was shocked. Kaniai recovered from his state of shock, and said, "I'll kill you," and swung his good tonfa at Kukin. Kukin dodged the tonfa, and yelled to Hakufu, "Get out of here, Hakufu. I can't go and leave you here." Hakufu argued. Kukin shot back. "You have to finish the tournament, and it's safer with Ryomou than here. Just go, I'll be fine." In that moment of distraction, Kaniai dropped his bad tonfa, and thrust the tips of his fingers into Kukin's throat. The attack knocked the wind out of Kukin. Kukin fell to his knees with his hand rubbing his throat. Kaniai then moved to Kukin, and raised his tonfa, and yelled, "Kukin Shuryu, I'll kill you." Kukin grasped his throat, and groaned, "Go, don't worry about me." Hakufu ran in front of Kukin, and yelled at Kaniai, "Hey, I'm the one you're supposed to be fighting." Kaniai then turned his attention to Hakufu, and said, "Hakufu Sansaku, die." Kaniai then charged at Hakufu, and thrust his tonfa at her. Hakufu narrowly dodges the attack. Kaniai tried again with his other hand, but Hakufu dodged. Amazing, Hakufu timing her movements perfectly. Kukin thought, as he watched his cousin continue to frustrate Kani with her tactic. Finally, Hakufu grabbed Kani's arm with her own arm and kicked him in the face. Kani was sent into the air and crashed into a couple trash cans. Hakufu observed the damage done by her and started to jump up and down while cheering, I did it, I won, I can't believe it. But Hakufu got a lot stronger in such a short period of time. Kukin thought to himself, well, you two just love to get into trouble, don't you? Both Hakufu and Kukin turned to see Naruto at the end of the alley. Naruto, Kukin spoke to the newly arrived. What are you doing here? Well, when I heard an insane monkey scream, I'll kill you, Hakufu-san, Saku, I got curious. Naruto answered. Hakufu then ran over to Kukin and said, Kukin, are you okay? Kukin answered, I think my arm fractured, but don't worry about it. Hakufu's eyes started to tear up, and she said, I'm sorry. It's because of me that you're. Hey, didn't I say you don't need to worry about it? Now let's get to the match. Kukin calmed his cousin. Oh, right. Hakufu spoke before she turned the other way and ran. Kukin quickly got up and ran too. Naruto followed behind Kukin. In the piles of trash, Kani was slowly trying to get up while groaning, I'll kill you. Kani then fainted. So what is the beef between you two and Kani? Naruto asked the duo. Kukin turned to Naruto and said he was given the order to kill Hakufu again. Again? Naruto questioned. Yeah, Kanchan is very weird and gross, but he's strong. Hakufu spoke up as well. Naruto then said, yep, he is one of the big four of Nanyu, even if he did lose his mind a while back. Kanchan also tried to kill Gaku-chan. Hakufu told Naruto. Gaku-chan? Naruto questions Hakufu. Stop calling the Kushu Gaku-chan stupid. Kukin scolded his cousin. Hey, you called me stupid. Hakufu yelled as she turned around and started to run backwards. How about stop being an idiot and watch where you're going? Naruto pointed out to Hakufu. Huh! Hakufu turned around, but she crashed into a light pole. She fell on the ground while groaning, ouch. Too late. Naruto muttered to himself. Hakufu! Kukin yelled as he ran by her and kneeled down to her. Are you okay? Hakufu got up and said, yeah, but enough about that. We need to get to the match. With that, Hakufu started to run again. Kukin nodded and said, that's right. Ryomou could be starting right now. He started to run with his cousin. Can US fighting Ryomou? That could get ugly, Naruto thought, as he started to run. Naruto, Hakufu, and Kukin finally arrived at the Kaishin apartments. They were heading up the stairs and finally arrived onto the roof of the apartment. Once there, they saw Ryomou Shimi, a 17-year-old girl with blue hair, wearing a French-maid outfit and an eye patch on her left eye, fighting Kanu. Ryomou was thrown against the fencing of the roof by Kanu. Ryomou looked as if she was struggling in this fight, while Kanu herself looked as if she was disappointed. Is that all you got, Ryomou Shimi? Ryomou eyed her opponent down and shouted no. Ryomou then charged at Kanu while throwing reckless punches, which Kanu dodged without any effort. You can't beat me using the same tactic twice. Kanu mocked the members of the Big Four of Nanyu. Easy there, Kanu. Ryomou up to something. Naruto mentally told Kanu to himself. Soon enough, Naruto theory was correct. Kanu threw a punch with her left hand at Ryomou, only for Ryomou to catch Kanu's arm and swing her body onto the arm. Kanu dropped to the ground on her back, while Ryomou wrapped her legs onto the rest of Kanu's arm. Ryomou hugged Kanu's wrist with her arms. She pins Kanu down, Kukin exclaimed. Mao-chan gonna win, Hakufu commented. Naruto chuckled at the two before he said, I wouldn't count on that if I were you. His statement gained both Hakufu and Kukin's attention. What do you mean? Kukin asked. You'll see, Naruto spoke, refocusing his attention on the fight. Ryomou strangled Kanu's arm, as she said, give up, or I'll break your arm. Kanu was unfazed by the threat, as she said it was just an arm. Kanu then started to get up, but the weight on her arm was straining it. Winning is more important than I am given into a pathetic threat like that. Ryomou saw that Kanu was getting up, and tried to shift her weight to the ground, but Kanu continued to rise. My honor is worth more than a minor injury, Kanu yelled, as she got up, and a loud crack was heard on the roof. Ryomou was still on the ground, stunned about the turn of events. Hakufu and Kukin were also shocked about the situation, as well. Naruto just shook his head at Kanu's actions. Kanu stood up perfectly with her left arm dislocated at the elbow. Nonetheless, Kanu turned to Ryomou, kicked her into the air, and delivered another kick to send her crashing into the wall, where Naruto, Kukin, and Hakufu were. Ryomou tried to get up, only for her to collapse. The winner is crystal clear, Kanu announced to the proctor. Wait, Ryomou spoke, and she successfully got to her knees. Stand down, or I'll kill you, Shimi. Kanu ordered her fallen opponent. Ryomou Shimi is unable to battle. The winner of round 1 is Kanu Unchao of Sido Private School, the proctor yelled. Okay, I'm next, Hakufu yelled, gaining everyone's attention. Kukin then shouted, don't, I'll fight her. But your arm is broken, Hakufu argued, but then she turned to Kanu and said, wait, your arm is broken too. Kanu ignored the comment and said, don't worry, I can still be your opponent. But I can't fight an injured opponent. Hakufu explained her hesitation. Before Kanu said anything else, another voice broke out. Then I'll fight you. Everyone turned to Naruto. And Kuken said, what do you mean, Naruto? You're late. Kanu spoke to Naruto. Naruto chuckled and said, sorry, I got caught up in traffic. Everyone from Nanyu saw the interaction, and then Kuken and Ryomou thought, do they know each other? Naruto walked over to Kanu. He gently wrapped his hands around Kanu's elbow and said, every time you get into a fight, you just can't leave until you get injured, can you? Naruto complained. Stop complaining. You can heal it after all. Kanu scolded Naruto. Naruto glared at her. Yeah, I can, but I'm starting to think that you're taking advantage of my abilities, can you? Then, as a treat, you can fight that girl. Can you compromise? Naruto groaned. I was going to anyway. And stop treating me like a dog. Kanu cast an uneasy look at Naruto. Do you want to sleep outside like one? Kanu threatens Naruto. Naruto's left hand began to emit a white glow, and Kanu's arm snapped back in place. Naruto then let go of Kanu's arm and said, how does it feel? Kanu lifted her arm, much to the surprise of everyone but Naruto, and said, it's numb, but better. Naruto nodded and turned to the representatives of Nanyu and said, well, Hakufu Sansaku of Nanyu Academy. I, Naruto Uzumaki of Sido Private School, will fight you. Both Kuken and Hakufu are speechless. But Kuken spoke, you're from Sido. Who cares? Hakufu suddenly exclaimed with a face that showed that she was excited. If he wants to fight, he got one. The proctor got the message and said the second match may now begin. Naruto then raised his arms and said, don't disappoint me, Hakufu Sansaku. Naruto then charged at Hakufu and threw a punch. Hakufu barely dodged and delivered a kick. Naruto caught the kick under his left arm and threw her through the air into the said fence. Aoi, Hakufu groaned, and she got up. Naruto then said, come on, you can do better than that. Naruto then gasped as he fell to one knee. Naruto then groaned as he thought, this is the Nekushimishu, Japanese, internal discord tumor variation destroyer, a technique that is supposed to vibrate the body, that cause it to get numb or paralysis for a short time, depending where it hit. Despite the pain, Naruto still got up and saw Hakufu charging at him again. Naruto rolled backwards and kicked Hakufu's chin, sending her into the air. Naruto then quickly landed on his own feet and stood up as Hakufu fell straight onto her back. Are you seriously going all out, or am I just wasting my time, Hakufu Sansaku? Naruto asked his opponent. Hakufu answered by rising up from the ground and shouting, I haven't even gotten started yet. Hakufu charged and threw another punch with her left hand. Naruto dodged the attack and thought, as Hakufu continued her assault. 1, 2. Hakufu then threw a punch with her right hand. 1. Naruto thought. Hakufu only continued the attacks, unknowingly falling into Naruto's trap. When Hakufu finally stopped her attack to take a quick breath and then shouted, stop dodging and fight, Naruto dodged the attack and said okay. Naruto then punched Hakufu's sides. Hakufu was once again sent flying into the air and hit the roof when she landed, but not as harshly as she previously had. Hakufu only got up, but she stood perfectly still for a few seconds. Then her face was fully shown with an insane grin on her face, and her eye pupils were now slit. Kuken, Ryomou, Kanu, and Naruto recognized these features, and both Kuken and Ryomou thought, is she going to go berserk again? While Kanu thought, that energy pattern. Does she harbor a dragon like Ryubi? Naruto thought, here it comes. I can't believe how strong you are. Hakufu suddenly, and quite surprisingly, spoke. I'm so excited. Hakufu spoke again. Suddenly Hakufu ran so fast it looked like a blur before she suddenly reappeared in front of Naruto and threw a kick. Naruto barely had any time to block as he was kicked straight in the face. The force flung him through the air, and then he hit the ground. Naruto got up on one knee and whipped his mouth of a little blood. She's actually in control. Hakufu then moved into attack again, but Naruto jumped into the air and avoided contact. No, the dragon is still a little wild, but Hakufu is controlling less than 63% of it, Naruto concluded as he landed behind Hakufu. Naruto threw a punch, but Hakufu blocked her elbow. The two struggled to overpower the other with their arms. Hakufu then swung a kick, and Naruto dodged by leaning backward and then allowed his body to fall so he can give another kick to Hakufu. Hakufu was hit and flew once again through the air, but she recovered and managed to maneuver herself in mid-air. She leaned all of her body weight to the ground with her foot. Naruto jumped backwards to avoid the attack and thought, if I'm going to win. Naruto dodged a punch and grabbed Hakufu's arm. I'm going to have to make it hurt. Naruto's eye then turned white with a black slit that wasn't seen by anyone else. Naruto then spun around and delivered a kick to Hakufu's back. Hakufu fell towards the ground, but Naruto kept his foot on Hakufu's back until she slammed down onto the ground. When Hakufu finally landed, Naruto pushed a little harder, and Hakufu crashed and created a crater on the roof. A small shockwave was felt by everyone present on the roof. Naruto lifted his foot from Hakufu. He then saw that she was incurious, and the proctor yelled the winner of the second round is Naruto Uzumaki of Sido Private School. Kukin saw that he was okay to cross the battlefield, and ran while saying Hakufu. Naruto stopped Kukin from coming closer to his cousin by saying that girl has a dragon inside of her. Kukin turned to Naruto as he said this. A dragon? Can you hear Naruto's statement? And her eyes widened in shock. I knew it. Yes, and one with an anger management issue. Don't let her out of your sight. Naruto warned Kukin, and then looked at Kanu. Kanu nodded, and walked in the direction of the exit. We're done here, Kanu told the judge. Wait, Nanyu still has one fighter left. The proctor informed the Sido representatives. Then Sido surrenders to Nanyu. Kanu announced. We didn't want the Gyokuji or victory. We're just looking forward to a good fight. Kanu explained her sudden withdrawal. As Kanu passed Ryomou, she said to her, I didn't think you actually did some damage. Naruto followed Kanu without another word. As the fighters descended the stairs, Kanu then said, no wonder you wanted to fight Naruto. Naruto responded, yes, I knew she was stronger than what everyone said, but to have the same power that makes her Ryubi's equal is quite a find. They finally hit the ground floor, and Naruto said, I wonder what Nanyu will do in their next match. Kanu answered, I don't know. I looked over the charts, and Kyushu is their next opponent. I heard that they have Kakutan, Kakuka, Usu, and Soso as their representatives. Only Kakutan has been fighting, and he hasn't been defeated. Naruto then thought Nanyu is going to be placed in a tight spot there. With only 2 fighters, there is not going to be a pretty outcome. Kanu then interrupted Naruto's thoughts by saying, Totaku will face a pretty tough opponent regardless of tomorrow's outcome. Amen to that. Naruto agrees with her fighter. Rikuya High School, Totaku, Ryofu, and Kaku watched the screen as they saw that Nanyu advanced over Sido to the semifinals. Kaku had her phone in her ear, but hung it up and turned to Totaku. Sido has forfeited their match to Nanyu. They said they had enough for the day. Kaku explained the bad news. That's boring. Where is the enjoyment in surrendering if victory is in your grasp? Totaku silently complained. Ryofu decided to change the topic. Nanyu advancing to the semifinals is only a lucky shot for them. They have no chance of beating Kyosho. But if they do make it to the finals, I'll personally attend Hakufu Sansaku myself, Ryofu declared. Ha ha ha. Totaku let out a light laugh and said, finals? I'm afraid that they aren't going to make it to the finals. Ryofu shot a look of confusion at her leader. What do you mean? What I'm saying to Ryofu, that the school that supports my execution will do nothing but crush each other, because I ordered it. Totaku explained his plan. Ryofu was shocked and shouted, all you're doing is just saying I want you to kill me to all of the anti-Totaku supporters. They will all object, and if you enforce it further, they will revolt. Totaku. Silence Ryofu. Kaku spoke up to Ryofu. If we allow history to repeat itself, there will be no future for Totaku Dano or Rikuyu. Just obey your orders, or you'll follow the same path that destroyed you 1800 years ago. Ryofu stayed silent at that. Now, no need to fight. Totaku spoke in a gentle voice to Kaku. I'm sure you all just had a long day. Why don't you two turn in for the night? Both Kaku and Ryofu nodded and left Totaku's room. Neither said a word to each other. Ryofu was in deep thought about what Kaku said. Is that all I can do? Follow my fate and live the life of a traitor, like Ryofu Hosen did 1800 years ago. Ryofu finally arrived at her room to see a man with dirty blonde hair, tan skin, and a handsome face to boot, standing in the middle of her room. Well, I better get going. I don't want you to take the fall if I'm caught. The man began to exit the room, and then said, stay safe, Ryofu-chan. Ryofu didn't turn to the man, but still said, I know you don't mean that, Saji. Saji laughed a little, and said, of course I do. Saji opened the door, and left the room. Ryofu fell to her knees, and thought about everything that was happening today. She felt weak, and pathetic. Ryofu then sensed another presence, and turned to see Chinkyu. Ryofu-san. Don't listen to that woman, Kaku. She just wants to take over, and become number 2, Chinkyu said, as she stood over, and counseled her friend. Number 2 huh? Ryofu then grabbed Chinkyu's arm, pulled her down, and hugged her tightly. She can have it, because I'm going to be number 1. Will you follow me, Chinkyu? Chinkyu's expression was clearly joyful, as she said, yes, now, and forever, I'll be at your side. Ryofu lightly caressed her lover's face, and kissed Chinkyu full on the lips. Chinkyu returned the kiss, as well, forgetting their troubles for the night, and embracing each other's hearts for comfort. Next day, Naruto stood against a building with a few other fighters, as they saw the first round about to start with Hakufu Sansaku vs Kakutan Genju. Naruto observed the team from Kyosho, and saw Kakutan, a tan 17-year-old man wearing a green jacket, a white shirt, and cargo pants. Kakuka, a man around 17 with spiky dirty blonde hair, wearing a black jacket and pants. Usu, a black hair fighter wearing a necklace and a gray shirt and pants. and Soso Matoku, who laid down sleeping in his tan-colored shirt and green shorts. One of the guys with long hair on the sidelines said Nanyu only has 2 fighters. Now this is what I call a shitty showdown. Another one of the 3 guys spoke. The last of the trio then said, I think it's going to be interesting, because the fighters are both Ryomou's Shimi of the Big Four, who broke Kane's arm, and Hakufu Sansaku was the one who overthrew Yushu. Both Hakufu and Kakutan stepped towards each other. Kakuka observed their opponents and said, only 2 fighters? Kakutan then proclaimed, it doesn't matter how many fighters there are. I can defeat anyone they throw at me. Can't you just be a little humble? Kakuka joked with Kakutan. The proctor then said the first match between Nanyu and Kyosho may now begin. Both Hakufu and Kakutan brought their fists to each other, and Hakufu said, the best fighter wins. Still remember the basics? Kakutan asked his opponent. Hakufu winked and said, of course. Both then separated and stood in a fighting stance. Suddenly a new voice broke the silence of the area, as it cried, oh no, I'm late. Everyone, but So-So, who was fast asleep, turned to see a woman with brown hair, glasses, and wearing a dark blue kimono, running to the area while under an umbrella. I didn't miss anything, did I? The woman asked everyone. And Go-I, Kukin shouted to the women. The woman, Go-I, then turned to Kukin and said, oh Kukin. She then walked over to him and finished. Did I miss anything? Kukin gave his aunt a blank look. Well no, he said, they just started. Go-I then looked cheerful. Oh good. She then turned to both Hakufu and Kakuotan and yelled, go Tun-chan. I'm rooting for you. Kakutan looked at Go-I uneasily and said thanks. Now let the match begin, Go-I shouted. Hakufu looked at Go-I, who was walking over to Nanyo's side of the arena, and shouted, Mom, what are you doing? Kakutan took advantage of Hakufu's distraction and kicked her leg. Hakufu fell to the ground, and Kukin yelled, hey, don't take your eyes off of him. Hakufu got back up and said, I was just distracted, that's all. Suddenly Kakutan slid across the ground and kicked Hakufu's leg. Hakufu fell flat on her back and yelled, hey, that was pretty dirty. On the sidelines, one of the other fighters said, why does he keep kicking her like that? Yeah, it's so lame. One of the other fighters agreed. Naruto thought as this plan of his or Naruto's thoughts were cut off when the last fighter yelled, I know. He giving us a peep show. Everyone else turned to Hakufu and saw they could actually look up her skirt. Oh yeah, I get it, they all said. A perverted stunt. Naruto finished his thought. Hakufu got up, only for Kakutan to kick her legs again, and it made her lose her balance. He let out a restrained scream and said, stop kicking me. Kakutan didn't respond, but the look on his face seemed like he had done something bad. Nanyo's team noticed Kakutan's tactics, and Ryomou said, why is he only knocking her down? There are other openings for him to strike. I know, Kukin spoke. I heard Kakutan is an A-rank fighter, and his fighting style is only punching and kicking, but this is out of character. Go-I did not speak at all, just let out a giggle, as she watched her daughter getting attacked. The 3 fighters in the audience then began to wave their hands in the air, and shouted, yeah Kakutan. Keep it up. Hakufu finally managed to get up, and avoided Kakutan's kick, and jumped at him. She threw a punch, but Kakutan dodged, and slid back a few inches. Hakufu landed on her feet, and made a roundhouse kick on Kakutan, which failed, as Kakutan quickly kicked the front of her leg, and made her fall forward on her face. Naruto quietly observed the battle, and remembered his lesson from Kanu and Chousen over a year ago. Flashback. Naruto, Kanu, and Chousen all stood in a meadow with their weapons. Naruto had both of his weapons raised, and he was not only sweating, but panting. Chousen had her Muramasa kept in her stealth, while Kanu had her spear lowered. Either of them were in the same condition as Naruto was. Naruto then charged at both of his opponents, swinging Tenzamaru in a wild direction. Chousen and Kanu merely leaned away from the blade, and Kanu used her foot to trip Naruto. Chousen then brought her stealth sword up, and slammed it onto Naruto's back. Naruto fell to the ground with a shockwave of pain vibrating through his body as he landed. Damn it, what the hell am I doing wrong? Naruto groaned as he got up from the ground. Chousen then stood over Naruto. You swing, and your attacks are all power, and no control, Naruto. Chousen started to explain. Yes, your movements are wild, and by that it looks like you're relying on luck to make a connection. Kanu inputted her own thoughts. You also might have an incredible amount of stamina, but your skills are riddled with openings, and your perspective of your surroundings are only what is in front of you. Naruto heard everything, and sank his head down in discouragement. We can work on this either the least, Chousen added. Naruto felt a little better at this. Chousen then said the only problem will be your tactics, and that is easier to deal with than your other problems. My tactics? Naruto asked. Kanu nodded yes. While your on-the-spot thinking is impressive, you're always fighting unfocused, and only strike the main body with all your strength. Keep your opponent on his toes by striking the limbs, which will exhaust him enough for you to strike him down, if the person isn't paralyzed yet. Kanu explained. Flashback end. Now I get it. Kakutan trying to immobilize Hakufu's legs. Naruto concluded. His theory was proven right when Hakufu got up, but her legs were bruised slightly, and she was showing signs of collapsing any minute. Kakutan then moved in and kicked Hakufu's foot. Hakufu fell onto her knee and quickly moved her arms in front of her to break her fall. Hakufu groaned when her legs began to send a burning feeling to her, and she shouted, "I'm getting very pissed off." Hakufu tried to get up only for her legs to refuse to move. The proctor saw the damage and shouted, "Since Hakufu-san Saku is unable to continue, Kakutan of Kyosho Academy wins round 1. Hakufu looked at the proctor with disbelief written on her face. "Wait, what the hell are you talking about?" Kukin ran to Hakufu and picked her up. "There is nothing that nobody can do now." Hakufu shot a look at Kukin and said, "I deserve a rematch. I can beat him." Goai then said, "Losing feels this way. Take it from me." Both Hakufu and Kukin then looked at the women and figured out what happened. "And Goai, you helped Kakutan." Oh no, Goai face changed into one that belonged to a worrywart. "I've completely forgotten about the mall sales day. Gotta run." When Goai got to the gate, she turned around in Kakutan's direction and yelled, "Hey, Tanchan, thank you so much, I love you." Goai then blew a kiss to the boy. Kakutan waved his hand and said it was nothing. Everyone saw the gesture that Goai gave Kakutan actually returning it in an uneasy way, and they all concluded one thing. "So it is true that Kakutan chases after older women?" One of the fighters by Naruto spoke. His friend responded, "Yeah, but didn't think he would take a shot at Sansaku's mom?" Kakutan heard the conversation with a huge blush expressing his embarrassment. "I guess he'll fool around with anyone," the last one said. Kakutan was pouring out tears from his eyes as he cried. "Why did I deserve this?" Hakufu, of course, heard the whole thing and said, "It can't be. Kakutan is my father. What do you think of Kukin?" Kukin just said, "I don't think that's going to happen." Kukin then placed Hakufu on a chair that was placed on their side, and Kukin ran to get a bucket of water. Before he got the bucket, he heard Ryomou say, "Alright, it's my turn." Ryomou then walked towards Kakutan, and Kakutan got his game face on for his next challenger. Hakufu put her feet in the hot bucket of water while grumbling, "I can't believe he chose my mom over me." Hakufu got even more rallied, and shouted, "Moyu-chan, knock his lights out. Make him regret doing what he did." So that's what happened. Kakutan was hitting it off with both of them. The fighters on the sidelines concluded. Kakutan heard it and lost his game face. "Stop it, you got the whole thing wrong." Usu then said, "Hey, that's not." Kakuka then said, "It is." "Man, Kakutan is so screwed." The proctor then said, "The second round between Nenyu and Kyosho may now begin." Ryomou then jumped at Kakutan and hooked her right leg around his neck and used her left leg to anchor it down. Ryomou began to transfer a little bit of her energy into Kakutan's body to make sure he stayed put. "Man, does Kakutan look pathetic all of a sudden?" Usu commented. "Easy man, even you would look weak too being strangled." Kakuka spoke to his comrade. "I guess it was not Kakutan's lucky day." Ryomou squeezed her leg around her opponent's neck tighter. Kakutan's face was starting to turn blue when he said, Okay, I give up." The proctor then yelled that Kakutan had forfeited his match. Ryomou's shimmy of Nanyu Academy has won the round. Ryomou loosened her legs on Kakutan's neck, and they both fell to the ground. Kakutan was breathing hard. Usu then glanced over at Kakuka and said, "Looks like you're up." Kakuka then said, "It's about time." Ryomou then started to sweat at her new opponent and thought, "This isn't good." Kakuka entered the arena and stopped in front of Ryomou. The proctor then said, "The third match between Nanyu and Kyosho may now begin." Ryomou made a hasty jump at Kakuku and threw a kick. Kakuka then leaned away from the attack and sank back into his original position. Ryomou then landed and quickly jumped into the air again to throw a punch. Kakuka merely sidestepped the attack. When Ryomou landed right in front of him, he thrust the palm of his hand into Ryomou's gut, and she flew into the side of the building. Ryomou hit the side of the building, leaving a human-shaped dent. Kakuka walked up to a glaring Ryomou and said, "Hey, don't be so hard on yourself." Ryomou then fell to the ground face first. The proctor then said Ryomou's shimmy is unable to continue. The third round goes to Kakuka of Kyosho Academy, and the match goes to Kyosho. Soso woke up in time to hear the announcement, and said, "It's over?" He got up and walked over to his friends. "Well, let's get out of here." Everyone began to leave the area while talking about the Kyosho victory over Rikuyu. Ryomou laid on the side of the building, and then said, "We lost, didn't we?" Kukin answered yes. Hakufu joined in on the glooming. But when she saw Soso, she turned to Kukin and asked, "Hey Kukin, who's that?" Kukin saw the person Hakufu was pointing to and said, "That's Soso Mitoku, he's the leader of Kyosho Academy." The leader. Hakufu spoke. She watched as Soso walked out without glancing at anyone. Hakufu then saw Naruto. "Hey Naruto," Hakufu called out to the blonde. Naruto merely got up and left the area as well. "What is his problem?" Hakufu asked. Kukin saw Naruto leave as well, but he ignored it and turned to Hakufu. Naruto has other things to worry about Hakufu. We need to worry about Ryomou. Hakufu then shouted oh right, and proceeded to help cook and carry Ryomou to the hospital. Naruto walked right past the Kyosho group, but when he walked past Soso stopped completely. Naruto continued to walk, but everyone around Soso saw what Soso was doing, and Kakuka then said hey man, you okay? Soso then said it was acting up for a second. Everyone's eyes widened, and Kakutan said what do you mean acting up? Nothing happened today that would provoke the thing. Soso then remembered something. When that guy passed me, Soso then pointed to the only person in the place. Other than them, I felt an energy off of him. It responded differently, as if it was scared. Osu then said scared? Of him? Soso then turned to Usu, and said you know him? Yeah, he is the fighter that defeated Hakufu Sansaku at yesterday's match. Usu explained. There is even a rumor that he even took on Totaku's second-in-command Ryomou. Soso just looked in the direction Naruto disappeared to. Kakuka then said so you want me to go get him? Soso didn't answer at first, but he lowered his head and closed his eyes. There's no need to hide Kakuin, Soso called out to the wind. Suddenly a woman with long raven black hair, wearing a white and red Chinese dress that exposed the sides of her legs. Kakuka kneeled down in front of Soso and said I apologize, Susadano. Soso then said it's okay. Nothing to forgive, cause nothing happened, right? Kakuin nodded, and said do you wish for me to go after that fighter? Soso nodded, and said yes, see what his skill level is, and report back with the results. Yes sir, Kakukin shouted, and disappeared. Kakuka then said are you sure that's wise? I heard that Naruto is probably an A-rank fighter when he goes all out. Soso then said if that's true, then I hope Kakukin doesn't go over her head. With Naruto walked through the part of the city that was covered with factories left and right when Naruto's phone rang. Naruto then checked his mail for it to read. Message from Kanu Unchao. Naruto, where are you? Call back. Naruto then texted I'm on my way home, and sent the message. The next message then said, message from Kanu Unchao. I need you to pick up a book for Ryubi Gentaku. It's called The Shadows of the Sun. I'll pay you back if the book is in good condition. Naruto placed his phone back into his pocket, and continued to walk. Naruto then walked into the bookstore, and got the book that Ryubi wanted, and left without a problem. Naruto then looked up, and saw the sky darkening, and thought I'd better hurry before the rain starts to pour. Naruto then began to run, and then spotted a vacant construction site. Naruto then runs into the empty lot, save for a few landscaping tools, vehicles, and a camper. Naruto then stopped suddenly when he saw a blur appear in front of him. When he stopped, he saw 4 wooden needles stabbing the ground. Naruto looked around, and saw a woman sitting on the fencing a few yards away. Naruto then shouted who the hell are you? The woman then said I'm Kakuin Myosai of Kyosho Academy. Naruto's eyes narrowed, and said Kyosho Academy? What reason do you have to attack me? Kakuin didn't answer. She then flung a jade shot, attached to a wire, at Naruto's location. Naruto quickly dodged the attack, and landed on a pile of dirt. Naruto saw Kakuin jump straight at him while aiming a kick. Naruto then drew his Hujufu, and used it to stop kicking with the side of his blade. Naruto pushed Kakuin with his sword, and noticed a bag flying through the air, and to the ground. Oh no, the book! Naruto panicked, as he jumped, and grabbed the bag before it fell to the ground. Naruto quickly laid the book on a table, and threw his clock on top. That should keep it safe, and keep me at top speed, Naruto thought, as he then charged at the Kyosho girl with a Jufu armed to the teeth. Kakuin saw the change in offense, and jumped away. As soon as she landed, Kakuin spun around, and kicked Naruto. Naruto raised his own foot to intercept the kick. Naruto then twirled around while lowering his one leg, and slashed at Kakuin's leg. Kakuin jumped over Naruto, and threw 2 needles at Naruto, one in each of his shoulders. Naruto felt the needles breach his shoulder. They went numb, and his hand dropped his sword. Naruto then thought she is an acupuncturist? Naruto quickly launched himself away from his new opponent. Geez, this girl isn't half bad. Her speed and attacks are good, but her specialty is impressive, considering her movement. Naruto quickly dodged Kakuin, as she fires her jade weapon. Naruto used his legs to kick the ground to stir up some dust. Kakuin got caught in the dust, and lost sight of her opponent. When the dust settled, Naruto was nowhere to be found. Naruto hid in the bed of a dump truck. Naruto focused on the damage done to his arms, and thought I can't fight like this. That girl's movements are faster than I am, and she is far more skilled than I am. Naruto then looked above the edge of the tub, and saw Kakuin only stood in the same spot, not moving in the slightest. Naruto sank back into the tub, and thought she is waiting for me to make the first move. I would if it wasn't for my busted arms. I need to remove those needles from my arms. Naruto then focuses on flexing his muscles to pop the needles out. The result was that the needles stayed put. Naruto breathed a little hard, and suddenly he felt a pulse of energy head towards his arms, and the needles flew out. Naruto's energy died down, and thought now since that is taken care of. Naruto then tried to lift his arm, but it only lifted a couple inches from its original position. It still needs a little time. Naruto turned his neck to take in the sights. He saw the place riddled with things to keep Kakuen occupied until the feeling returned to his arms. Naruto then jumped out of the truck and ran towards a shed. Kakuen soon followed. When Naruto got to the shed, Kakuen jumped and threw a kick. Naruto opened the shed's door with his foot by kicking the handle off, and then quickly used the same foot to open the door. The opening door deflected Kakoken's kick, and Naruto then spun around on his foot and kicked Kaioken when the door exposed her. The kick landed, and Kakoken was pushed out a few feet, but Kakoken didn't even flinch. Kakuen charged at Naruto again and launched a dozen more needles. Naruto quickly ran away from the barrage of needles and ran towards the camper. He jumped over it and pressed his back towards the wall. Naruto focused on his arms and tried to move it. The arm was slowly raising, but it dropped again. Damn, not yet. Naruto then sensed Kakuen's presence and quickly jumped away as Kakuen landed. As Kakuen then tried to punch Naruto, Naruto dodged all of the punches and even managed to intercept a few with his legs. Naruto was backed into the sidewalk part of the lot where he spotted a fire hydrant. Naruto then jumped as Kakuen trusted her foot, and he landed where the hydrant was. Naruto then kicked the nose of the hydrant, and water gushed out in a strong stream that hit Kakuen, who was rushing at him. Kakuen was pushed back by the stream of water and hit the camper. Kakoken stood up and walked out of the stream of water with little problem, and put her guard up to stop Naruto's kick. Kakuen then pushed Naruto, and Naruto was flown back, but landed on his feet. Naruto quickly caught his breath, and then jumped, as Kakuen fired her jade weapon. Naruto then landed away, and then reached for a shove, but his arms were still numb. Instead, Naruto bent backwards, and dodged Kakuen's swipe, and Naruto landed on his back, and used his feet to grab a hold of the shoves, and swung the wooden handle at Kaioken. Kakuen grabbed the shove with her hand, and ripped it away from Naruto, and then she thrust her fist at him. Naruto quickly rolled to the sides, and got to his feet, and jumped over Kakuen, and landed on a sawhorse. Kakuen swung around, and tried to kick Naruto off of the sawhorse. Naruto jumped to avoid the kick, and kicked Kakuen as he landed. Kakuen blocked the attack, and then kicked the legs of the sawhorse, and Naruto quickly recovered from his fall by jumping, and landing on solid ground. Naruto and Kakuen stood apart from each other, panting their lungs out. Naruto much more than Kakuen. Naruto then said, "Okay, I'm getting a little irritated with this little out of the blue attack, so I'll say it again. What the hell do you think you're doing?" Kakuen then surprisingly answered that Susanoo has taken an interest in you, and wished me to examine you. Naruto then concluded, "And let me guess, he wants me to defect from Sido to Kyushi, right? I was given no such orders, just test you out, and see what your skill level is." Kakuen spoke, correcting her opponent's assumption. Naruto then narrowed his eyes, and thought, what is so special about me that's got so interested? Naruto then heard police car sirens, and both Naruto and Kakoken got the message. It seems the match will have to be postponed for a later date. Naruto Uzumaki, Kakuen announced, and ran off. Naruto also took the message, and thought, looks that way. Kakuen Myosai. Naruto then ran over to his cloak, and grabbed the bag. He opened the bag, but the book was wet. Naruto saw the book condition, and thought, ah crap. Naruto quickly put the bag inside his cloak's pocket. Naruto felt the rain starting to come down, as he ran away from the lot before the police entered. Naruto ran for a couple of blocks down the road before he resumed walking. Naruto walked a little bit before he finally arrived at Sido. Naruto walked through the front door, and saw Kanu leaning against the wall. "Something happened on your way here, Naruto?" Naruto dug through his pocket, and got the book, as he said, "Some chick was checking me out." Kanu raised an eyebrow, and said, "You usually don't draw attention to yourself. What was different today?" "The girl was from Kyushu, and I caught her leader's eye." Naruto informed his friend. So was interested in you." Kanu spoke. Naruto shrugged, and said, "It's nothing that big right now. Here you go." Naruto handed her the book Ryubi asked for. Kanu saw the condition of the book, and suddenly hit the top of Naruto's head with the flat side of her spear. Naruto kneeled down holding his head to stop it from throbbing, as he heard Kanu yell, "What the hell is this? I asked you to get one book, and it is in lousy condition." Naruto then groaned. It was only wet. Kanu then grasped Naruto's collar, and began to shake him, as she shouted, "This book was supposed to be in the best of conditions for Ryubi Gentoku, as punishment for failing you, buy a new one, and you'll run 50 laps around the track." Naruto fell onto the floor when Kanu let go of him, and yelled, "What? That book cost 2,000 ryo, Japanese, $20, and I'm out of money." Kanu then said, "Complain again, and I'll make you run 100 laps." Kyosho Academy. So was standing in the gym. Suddenly Kakuen appeared in the gym while kneeling in front of the leader of Kyosho. So then said, "So what do you learn?" Naruto Uzumaki of Sito Private School is very strong, and more skilled than I thought. I disabled his arms, but he still managed to hold me off with just his feet and other on-the-spot objects. He's also intelligent and resourceful. Kakuen explained the results. Well, that's a fine piece of work. He sure does deserve his place as an A-rank fighter. So spoke. Kakuen then raised her head, if I may say Susadano. Naruto seemed to dislike the idea of working for Kyosho when he asked if I was able to persuade him to join us. So shook his head. Such a letdown. Kakuen then said, should I go and capture him? So waved his hand and said no need to. We have all the time in the world to find out what we can offer him. A few days later, alone in her room, Kaku sat on her bed when she heard her phone ring. Kaku then picked up her phone and answered it. Hello? Kaku said, as the voice on the other end said, Kaku, I just got news that Taishijai Shigi just woke up from his coma, fully recovered. Kaku's eyes widened in shock at the news and said, how? Ryomou and Hanu stabbed him near his vitals. There is no way possible that he could wake up, let alone walk. The voice on the phone argued that he was doing more than just walking Kaku. He's just as if he was never attacked in the first place. Did you look into Kujiri? Kaku asked. Yeah, I did. Kujiri answered. It turns out that he had a few visitors, but a guy named Naruto Uzumaki visited him twice, and he looked like he was transferring his chi or something into Taishijai's body. Did you check the achievements like I asked? Kaku spoke. Kujiri then answered, I did. And here's the weird part. Naruto Uzumaki isn't mentioned in any records. They only started to keep track of him over a year ago. I also looked up any available achievements in the history of the Three Kingdoms, but once again, nothing came up. Kaku then said, okay, keep me posted on anything that may link up to him. If I may ask, why did you want me to go through history? Kujiri asked. Kaku then said, this is only the will of Totaku. Kaku hung up her phone and walked out of her room. What are you, Naruto? You appear out of nowhere, and you suddenly have the entire Kanto region eyeing you. To top it off, your fate or historical records are non-existent. I have no idea what you're supposed to do. Kaku thought they were broken, as she heard a voice coming from Ryofu's room. Why didn't you tell me, Ryofu-san? Chinkyu actually shouted at her lover. Ryofu ignored the outburst, and said, cause I didn't want to worry you. But Ryofu-san, didn't I have a right to know you were dying? Chinkyu asked. Yes you did, but I didn't say anything, because you would have told him, and it would have devastated him. Ryofu explained. Chinkyu calmed down a little before she said, you're right. He was all so protective of us. Ryofu nodded at Chinkyu. Please don't go to him and tell Akaoni anything. Chinkyu was reluctant and said, I won't, Ryofu-san, but you need to tell him sooner or later. You only have 3 months to live. Ryofu lowered her head and said, I know. Kaku heard this and thought, well, this could work to my advantage. Kaku quickly disappeared before Chinkyu left the room. Kaku then pulled out her phone and texted a message to a person before she sent it. Kaku then quickly walked towards the school and descended a couple stories before she arrived at the sub-basement of the school. Kaku appeared before a door that was riddled with graffiti that said monster, demon, spawn of hell, and so on and so forth. Kaku opened the door and flipped the switch on to turn the lights on. Kaku saw a massive figure that was kneeling, who was covered with chains that covered his main body, arms, and legs. His head was covered by a gray metal mask that showed off his red eyes. He wore gray cargo pants, a black sleeveless shirt, and fingerless gloves. It's been a long time since I last saw Akaoni. Kaku spoke to the figure, Akaoni, only for him to let out a little growl in response to her present. Kaku shook her head and said, still bitter about what happened. You know it was your own fault. You just couldn't control your temper. Akaoni didn't respond at first, but then said, what do you want? Kaku then knew she had to get to the point quickly. Well, I need a little favor. A favor that requires a person of your caliber. Akaoni scoffed, and then said, why would I do any of you Rikuya fighters a favor? I don't work for you. Kaku then countered, but you do work for Ryofu Hosen and Shinkyu Kudai, don't you? Akaoni said nothing. I thought so. Before you say no, I'll explain why this job benefits not only Rikuyu, but your friends Ryofu and Shinkyu. Akaoni twisted his head in Kaku's direction and said, what's your game? Kaku turned her back and grinned, as she said, you probably didn't know this, but Ryofu's dying. What? Akaoni yelled. It's true. Ryofu didn't want to worry you, so she forbade Shinkyu from telling you. From what I heard, she only had 3 months to live at the most, Kaku explained. Akaoni then sank a little and mumbled to himself, what were you thinking, Ryofu? There is a way to cure her though. Kaku quickly gained Akaoni's attention. How? Akaoni asked with the voice of a desperate man in his own words. Kaku then said, well, as you know from personal experience, Totaku is a master of chi manipulation. He can possibly eliminate Ryofu's disease. I was able to convince Totaku to help Ryofu to the best of his ability. Of course I demand something in return. The favor, right? Akaoni spoke to Kaku. Kaku turned to Akaoni and said, correct. I need you to kill 2 fighters on Totaku behalf. Akaoni motioned Kaku to continue. I need you to kill Hakufu Sansaku of Nanyu Academy and Uin Shirshir of Nanyu, as well, Kaku explained. Ikaoni was confused. Why those two, when I understand, and I don't object, but Hakufu Sansaku. Kaku then said Hakufu Sansaku is only a D-rank fighter, but the power she has is unmatched even by Totaku Dano. She needs to be taken out before she causes any problems. If you still have any objection, all you can pray for is Ryofu to have a quick and painless death. Ikaoni then instantly said I'll do it. Kaku grinning, and said I knew you could be reasonable. Kaku then dug out the keys to the locks and unlocked 3 of the 4 heavy-duty locks. Ikaoni felt the 3 chains loosening up around his body and legs, and he started to walk forward with a little strain on his legs. Kaku wisely stood back, as the wall around the last chain was straining before it snapped, and Ikaoni was beginning to walk towards the door. Kaku saw the event that took place, and thought just from walking, a truly ruthless A-rank fighter of unequal talent. Ikaoni paused for a second before turning to Kaku, and saying you better keep your end of the bargain, or I'll do the same thing to you, as I did to 20 of you best fighters. Ikaoni then turned away, and walked right out of the door. Charming, Kaku thought with sarcasm. Kaku walked out of the room to see Ikaoni nowhere in sight. A figure was spotted holding Chinkyu, who was struggling against the kidnapper's arms. I see you got here sooner than I thought. Kaku complimented the man. The fighter said of course. She had her guard down, and all it took was a little time and muscle to get her down here. Kaku then walked towards the stairs, and said keep her here. Do whatever you want. The man grinned at Chinkyu. Well, you know what that means. Chinkyu only doubled her efforts to get out of the man's bind, but Kaku continued to leave. At the top of the stairs Kaku heard let me go. Stay away. No. Kaku exited the building, and peeked at the cloudy night sky. Everything's going well so far. Nanyu Academy. Ikaoni stood at the gates of Nanyu Academy, and mumbled Hakufu Sansaku. Win Shirshir, prepare yourself. Your end is upon you. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.